What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Omni-sensei here with What If I Were Reborn in Teen Wolf as Scott McCall? The True Alpha. Part 6. If you enjoy this type of content, please smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description. Let's dive into the rise of a true alpha without further ado.
行くぜ
Scott's POV. After leaving school, Scott and his pack drove to the old Hale house. When they arrived, they found Derek and Peter waiting for them. As they got out of their cars and greeted Derek, Stiles walked up to Peter, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "What's up, Peter? Gotten into any trouble lately?" Peter pushed Stiles' hand off his shoulder and replied, "No, but I'm guessing I'm about to." Then, Peter turned to Malia, eyeing her curiously. "Girl, you remind me of someone. I just can't remember who. What's your name?" Malia looked at Stiles and frowned. "Who's the pervert?" Stiles shrugged. "Just a psycho. Don't mind him." Malia narrowed her eyes at Peter. "Can I gouge his eyes out? I don't like the way he's looking at me." Stiles turned to Peter. "Hey Peter, stop looking at my girlfriend like that, or believe it or not I'll gouge your eyes out before she can." Peter smirked. "Relax. Like I said, she just reminded me of someone." Derek cleared his throat, shifting the conversation. He turned to Brayden and asked, "Scott, is she the one who saved Jackson?" Scott nodded. "Yeah. Her name is Brayden, a mercenary. Someone hired her to save your betas." Derek's expression hardened. "Who hired you?" Brayden shook her head. "I can't tell you that, but I can tell you where your betas are." Derek frowned. "I'm only missing one beta, not two." Brayden crossed her arms. "Well, there are two of them there. A boy and a girl." Lydia glanced at Derek. "Maybe they caught Tracy too?" Derek shook his head. "That's impossible. She's in New York. We spoke this morning." Brayden shrugged. "Either way, you'll find out who she is once you get there." Derek exhaled sharply. "Fine. Where are they being held?" Brayden answered. "They're locked up in the abandoned Beacon Hills First National Bank. In a vault." Derek's jaw clenched. "Then I'll get them out tonight." Peter scoffed. "Be smart about this, Derek. We can't just go storming in." Derek shot him a look. "If a mercenary got in and out, and she's just a normal human, so can we, Peter. We're going tonight." Derek then turned to Brayden. "Do you know how many are in Deucalion's pack?" Brayden nodded. "Yeah. There are 5, Deucalion, Callie, Ennis, and the twins, Aiden and Ethan. And by the way, the twins are both alphas who can merge into a giant werewolf." Peter let out a low whistle. "You heard that, Derek? We're up against 5 alphas. All of them killers. And if that's not enough to scare your testicles back into your stomach, remember, Deucalion is what they call the demon wolf. There's no way we can win." Derek's eyes darkened. "So what? Am I supposed to just let Josh die?" Peter sighed. "He was a sweet kid. I'm sure he'll be missed." Malia crossed her arms. "I think the pervert's right. The 2 of you against 5 alphas is suicide." Stiles raised an eyebrow. "Malia, what would you do if one of our pack got caught?" Malia paused, then said, "If you got caught, I'd probably save you." Then, she glanced at the rest of the pack. "Them? I would leave." Stiles chuckled dryly. "No, Malia. We don't leave anyone behind, remember that." Malia snorted. "Do you really think if someone is strong enough to capture Scott, I'd be able to save him? I'd just get caught too." Stiles nodded. "Fair point. I'm just glad you're not leaving me behind." Derek ignored them and turned back to Peter. I know what I'm up against, but I can't just let Josh die. Peter shook his head. It's not worth the risk, Derek. And this is the second time that stupid kid Josh has gotten himself caught. Let him be. Braden interjected. Even if you don't save him, do you really think Deucalion will let you guys go? He's after Derek. He wants him in his pack. Derek hesitated for a moment, then turned to Scott. Scott, can you help me save Josh? Scott nodded, smiling. Of course. Deucalion seems to be after me too, so we'll go there tonight and take care of him. And Derek, how about you join my pack? Derek narrowed his eyes. And if I say no? Are you going to force me, like Deucalion? Scott shook his head. Never. I don't force anyone to join my pack. It's your choice. Derek exhaled. Then I'll decline. Scott smirked. Is it because you're an alpha? Guys, show him. Derek, Peter, and Braden's eyes widened in shock as Allison, Styles, Lydia, and Boyd's eyes glowed red. Derek said, How? I knew about Allison, and your mother is probably an alpha too, but why are they alphas as well? Braden furrowed her brows. What the hell is going on? Peter looked at Scott's pack, stunned. How did you guys do it? Scott smiled. That's a secret. So Derek, do you want to join now? Derek hesitated before shaking his head. I'll think about it. But for now, I still want to lead my own pack. Scott nodded. Good luck with that. But when you're ready, I'll welcome you into my pack. Peter smirked and said, Hey Scott, I want to join your pack. Scott raised an eyebrow. You? Okay, but if you want to join my pack, you need to go and save Josh alone. If you do, I'll let you in. Peter scoffed. You could have just said no. Scott smiled. Well, no, Peter. You can't join my pack. I don't trust you, and honestly, I don't like you either. Peter sighed. You only have innocent kids in your pack. They've never taken a life before. You need someone like me, someone who can get his hands dirty, someone ruthless. Scott's grin widened. We already have a ruthless one. Allison smirked. And she doesn't like you at all. If Scott hadn't stopped her, you'd already be dead. Peter frowned. Are you talking about Kate? Allison shook her head. No. I'm talking about the woman who killed Kate. Peter's expression darkened. Kate is dead? Didn't you save her from me? And why aren't you furious about the person who killed your aunt? Why would you let her? Scott's eyes flared red as he growled. You're talking too much, Peter. Peter instinctively took a step back, going silent. Derek turned to Allison. Is that true? Kate is dead. Allison nodded. Yes. Not just her, Gerard too. And I'm sorry for what they did to your family. I know it sounds hypocritical coming from me, especially since I saved Kate before. But just like you couldn't kill Peter despite what he did, I couldn't let Peter kill her that night. Derek narrowed his eyes. What changed? Allison sighed. She and Gerard joined a pack. They came back to Beacon Hills to kill Scott, my pack, and they were planning to kill you too. Then, Allison's eyes glowed red as she turned to Peter with a dark smile. But we innocent kids killed them all. Peter swallowed hard, clearly unsettled. He coughed awkwardly. Then, we should thank you for saving us from that pack. Before he could say anything else, Malia suddenly appeared in front of him and punched him hard in the gut, sending him flying through the air and crashing through one of the old Hale house's broken windows. She dusted off her hands. I don't know why, but I hate that guy. Styles cheered. Good punch, babe. Braden, who had been watching quietly, turned to Scott's pack, then back to Scott himself. You didn't really need me to warn you about Deucalion and his pack, did you? Scott chuckled. No, but I appreciate it. Braden sighed. Deucalion has no idea what he's gotten himself into, huh? Scott stretched his arms and looked at the pack. All right, We're going with Derek tonight. If we find Deucalion and his pack there, we take them down. Erica tilted her head. What about the evil teacher? Do you think she's with them? Scott shook his head. I don't think so. She's supernatural, but not a shapeshifter. Lydia frowned. She feels like Deaton to me, like she's his evil counterpart. Allison nodded. Then we should talk to Deaton. Maybe he knows what she is. Scott thought for a moment, then said, We'll do that tomorrow. It was night. Derek, Braden, Peter, Scott, and his pack drove to the Beacon Hills First National Bank and stepped out of their cars. Derek glanced at the dark, abandoned building and asked, Should we sneak in or something? Scott shook his head. No need. Let's just go in. Without hesitation, Scott led his pack inside, with Derek, Peter, and Braden following closely behind. When they reached the vault, they found it wide open. However, as Derek attempted to step inside, he was suddenly thrown back by an invisible force, hitting the ground hard. Derek groaned and got to his feet. A mountain ash barrier. Braden, break it. Peter held up a hand. Wait. Let's see what's going on inside first. As they peered through the vault opening, they saw Josh standing inside, growling at them. Suddenly, another figure emerged from behind a pillar, a girl also growling, but with a hint of control in her eyes. She locked eyes with Derek and through clenched teeth warned, Derek, don't break the barrier. Derek's eyes widened. Cora. Styles looked between them. You know her. Derek nodded, his voice laced with shock. Yes, she's my sister. My younger sister. Styles frowned. What's she doing here? Derek said. Like I have a clue. I thought she was dead. Cora struggled to remain in control, her breaths ragged. Derek. I haven't felt the moon for 3 months. Josh hasn't for 2. You know what's going to happen next. Lydia's eyes narrowed. What's going to happen? Peter sighed, his expression grim. Deucalion has kept them from shifting for months, weakening their tolerance to the full moon. Now they're going to be more savage, more vicious, and far stronger. If we let them out, they'll kill anything in their way. Braden crossed her arms. And if we leave them in there, they'll tear each other apart. Scott chuckled. Aren't you an alpha, Derek? You just need to scare them until they regain control. With that, Scott stepped forward and walked through the mountain ash barrier as if it didn't exist. Peter's eyes widened. How did you do that? Scott ignored Cora and Josh's snarling and turned to Peter. Do you really want to know? Peter immediately shook his head. Never mind. Scott turned his attention back to Cora and Josh. His eyes glowed crimson, and he let out a powerful alpha roar. The sound wave crashed into Cora and Josh, sending them sprawling to the ground. Their bodies trembled as they instinctively crawled into the corner of the vault, whimpering. Scott turned to his pack with a smirk. Not bad, right? Not as strong as Lydia's sonic attack, but I'm getting there. Styles shook his head. Forget the sound wave thing. Do you know how loud you were just now? You didn't just scare Derek's sister and Josh. You probably scared everyone in Beacon Hills. Scott scratched the back of his head. I'm inside a bank vault. I doubt anyone outside heard me, probably. Derek signaled for Braden to break the mountain ash barrier. Once it was down, he entered the vault and approached Cora and Josh. Both had shifted back to their human forms, but they were visibly shaken, their gazes locked on Scott with pure fear. Derek crouched beside Cora, pinched her arm hard, and watched as the pain snapped her out of her daze. He then grabbed Josh's hand and broke one of his fingers, forcing him to regain his senses. How do you feel? Do you think you're going to lose control again? Derek asked. Cora shook her head. Not now. All I feel is fear. I don't think my wolf side will ever want to come out again. Josh remained silent, his eyes still fixed on Scott with terror. Cora swallowed hard before whispering, What are you? She looked at Scott as if he were a nightmare made real. I thought Deucalion was a monster, but after what I just felt, compared to you, he's nothing more than a little puppy. Scott smirked and winked at her. Thanks for the compliment. Allison suddenly appeared at his side and pinched his arm. What was that? Why are you winking at her? Scott coughed. I was just being friendly, babe. That's all. He grinned. Are you jealous? Allison huffed and looked away. Scott chuckled, pulled her into a hug, and whispered, My heart only has room for you, so you don't need to be jealous. Allison smiled, but before she could say anything, Styles stepped uncomfortably close to them, clutching his chest dramatically. Scott, what about me, buddy? Don't I have a place in your heart? Allison punched him in the face and scowled. I think you're the one I should be on guard against. Styles groaned, holding his nose. Ouch. You broke my nose, Allison. I was just joking. Malia grabbed him by the ear and narrowed her eyes. Do you like Scott? Styles's eyes widened in panic. No. I was just joking. I like girls, Malia. I like girls. Malia twisted his ear harder. Which girls? Tell me, and I'll kill them all. Styles screamed. Ugh. My ear. My ear. I only like you, Malia, okay? In fact, I love you. So please let me go. I was just joking. Malia released him with a huff. I didn't like your joke. You know what? Next time we sleep together, I'm not cuddling you to sleep. Styles blinked. What? Malia smirked. You're not going to be the little spoon for a whole month. Lydia laughed. Little spoon? Wow, Styles, that's so manly. Styles blushed furiously. Malia, remember what I told you? We should not talk about private things in front of outsiders. Malia shrugged. I remember. I just don't care. Besides, it's just our pack. There are no outsiders here. Styles looked around at everyone laughing at him, then turned to Boyd. What are you laughing at, man? At least I have someone to cuddle with. Boyd smirked. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, man. Scott chuckled. I know I said we'd take down the Alpha Pack all at once, but since not all of them are here, we can't go back empty-handed. So, which one of you guys wants to become an Alpha tonight? Erica smirked. Let Isaac have this opportunity. What do you think, Malia? Malia shrugged. I have no problem with that. Scott nodded before speaking loudly. Are you going to come out on your own, or do we have to drag your ass out? A few moments passed in silence. No one responded. Scott smirked. Isaac, go have fun. As for the other one... Allison stepped forward. I'll go. In a blur of speed, she disappeared into the bank, heading toward her target. Isaac walked up to a door near the vault. He knocked twice and grinned. Come on out, buddy. We know you're in there. A hand suddenly shot through the door, trying to grab him. But Isaac was faster. He caught the arm, yanked hard, and sent both the door and the man behind it crashing onto the floor. Peter's eyes gleamed with recognition. That's Ennis. Ennis stood, his eyes darting around nervously as he took in Scott and his pack. When his gaze landed on Scott, fear flickered in his expression. Scott tilted his head. Deucalion and your pack must have known we'd come here tonight. So why are you here alone? Are you the smart one, the brave one, or the abandoned one? Which one of the three are you? Lydia smirked. I don't think he's the smart one. Only a dumb werewolf would hide in a room next to a pack of werewolves and think they wouldn't hear his heartbeat or smell his scent. Boyd scoffed. I don't think he's brave either. I can smell his fear. Isaac stepped forward, his golden eyes gleaming as fur sprouted along his face. I think Deucalion wanted to get rid of him. That's why he's here. That makes him the abandoned one. Ennis's eyes narrowed. He saw that Isaac was just a beta and thought, if I catch this beta, maybe I can survive tonight. He glanced warily at Scott while inching toward Isaac. Scott smirked. Don't worry about me. I won't interfere in your fight with Isaac. And if you win, I promise I'll let you go. So fight with everything you've got. Don't hold back. You can even kill Isaac, if you can. Ennis froze. Are you serious? You and your pack won't help him? And even if I kill him, you'll let me go? Scott nodded. You have my word. A wicked grin spread across Ennis's face. Then don't blame me when you lose your beta. With that, he shifted into his full werewolf form and lunged at Isaac. But after exchanging a few blows, Ennis realized that Isaac was stronger than him. Isaac smiled. I don't like to fight, so let's end this quickly. Before Ennis could react, Isaac attacked, landing a solid punch on Ennis' face, making him dizzy. Not giving him a chance to recover, he swiftly kicked him to the ground, straddled his chest and rained down punches, each one more vicious than the last, until Ennis lost consciousness. Isaac then drove his claws into Ennis' chest, absorbing his alpha spark. He didn't stop until there was nothing left to take, his eyes glowing red with newfound power. With one final thrust, he pierced Ennis' heart, ending his life. Isaac stood up, turned to Peter, and smirked. How was that for an innocent kid, Peter? Peter remained silent, as he thought to himself. What's wrong with Scott and his pack? They're all monsters. I should never provoke them. Never. Meanwhile, Allison had caught up to the second person hiding in the abandoned bank. The woman, realizing she couldn't outrun Allison, stopped abruptly and threw a handful of mountain ash into the air. The ash formed a circle on the ground, creating a protective barrier around her. Allison stopped and recognized the woman instantly. Ms. Morel? What are you doing here? Morel remained silent, her expression unreadable. Allison scoffed. Well, it doesn't really matter. Let's see how Scott wants to deal with you. She stepped forward, grabbed Morel's arm, and pulled her out of the mountain ash barrier, dragging her along. Morel's eyes widened in shock. How? You're a werewolf. How can you pass through the barrier? Allison smirked. Now you want to talk? Morel scowled. You didn't answer me. And why should I? Allison retorted. You're my captive. They soon arrived where Scott and the others were standing, finding that Isaac had already finished off Ennis. Allison shoved Morel forward. This is Morel. She's a teacher at our school and a druid, I guess. What should we do with her? Scott studied Morel carefully before speaking. Are you the emissary of Deucalion's pack? Don't act tough. If you don't answer, I'll just read your memories. Braden stepped forward. Wait, Scott. She's the one who hired me to save Derek's betas. She also asked me to warn you about Deucalion, not that you needed the warning. Scott nodded. I see. Morel, what's your relationship with Deaton? And are you the emissary of Deucalion's pack? Deaton is my brother. And yes, I'm the Alpha Pack's emissary. Morel admitted. Tell me, why are you working with Deucalion? To restrain them. She answered simply. Scott considered her words before saying, You can go. Tell Deucalion I'm looking for him. Morel hesitated. Can I take Ennis' body with me? No. Leave. She didn't argue and walked away without another word. Allison crossed her arms. I know she's Deaton's sister, but can we really just let her go? I don't trust her. Scott shook his head. Don't worry about her. She's not our enemy. Lydia frowned. What if she warns Deucalion? If they run, we lose 4 alphas. Scott smirked. I doubt she's stupid enough to tell them to run from a bunch of teenagers. They'd probably kill her for it. Braden tilted her head. Why didn't you let her take the body? Scott said. Because I want to get rid of it myself. He stepped forward, raised his hand, and conjured fire, burning Ennis' body to ash in seconds. Braden, Derek, and his pack stared in stunned silence. Cora finally broke it. Seriously, what are you? Scott gave her a smirk. I'm a werewolf. Peter narrowed his eyes. Werewolves can't use fire. Scott chuckled. Weren't you the one who bit me? Haven't you seen me in my werewolf form? Peter hesitated. But how can you use fire? Scott's grin widened. If I told you, I'd have to kill you. Do you still want to know? Peter coughed awkwardly. I'm not that curious. After Scott, Derek, and their packs left the bank, Scott turned to Derek and said, Hey Derek, how about you and your pack come with us back to my ranch? That way, I can help if they lose control again. Plus, it'll be good for you to know where I live in case you ever need me but can't reach me by phone. Derek thought for a moment before nodding. Sure. I don't think I can keep them in check the way you did, and like you said, it's good to know where you live. Peter smirked. Count me out, Derek. Since you've already saved your Beta and Cora, I'm heading back home. Derek shrugged. You can leave, Peter. Scott and his pack don't seem to like you, so your absence is probably a good thing. Just stay out of trouble and don't let Deucalion catch you, because I probably wouldn't help you. Peter clutched his chest mockingly. Ouch, that hurts. But don't worry, I know how to survive. With that, Peter left, and the rest of them got into their cars, heading towards Scott's ranch. On the road, Lydia was driving at the front, suddenly spoke telepathically. Guys, I got one of those weird feelings again. Styles, driving his Jeep, responded first. Weird how? Lydia sighed. I'm a banshee, Styles. What do you think I felt? Styles chuckled. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the same weird feeling I get when I'm with Malia. Boyd chimed in. What feeling is that, Styles? Styles grinned. You're single, Boyd. You wouldn't understand. It's like a sneeze, but way better. Allison groaned. You're such a pervert. Lydia snapped. I'm not talking about an orgasm, Styles. I'm talking about the feeling that someone was murdered in the woods. And if you say one more word, I'll cut you out of this conversation. Styles quickly replied. Please don't do that. I'll shut up. Scott cut in. Lydia, ignore that idiot. Follow the feeling. Let's see what we find. Lydia changed direction, steering toward the woods, and the rest of the pack followed. Derek, who was driving behind them, followed as well. Lydia stopped at the edge of the woods and got out of her car. Braden, sitting in the passenger seat, frowned. Why are we stopping? Is Scott's house here? Lydia shook her head. No. Just stay behind, and you'll understand soon. Scott and the others got out of their cars and walked toward Lydia. Scott asked, Is it here? Lydia shook her head. No, it's a little further in. Scott took a deep breath, then frowned. How far? Never mind. I can smell blood. Without hesitation, he walked into the woods, following the scent. The others followed closely behind. After a short walk, Scott stopped beneath a tree and crouched down. A man's lifeless body lay there. Scott examined him and muttered. He was probably killed just a few hours ago. Styles knelt beside him. He has no organs, and there's almost no blood. Allison crossed her arms. So we're dealing with a vampire again? Or something that feeds on blood and apparently organs? Derek glanced at Scott's pack. How did you guys find the body? Scott looked at him. Lydia is a banshee. Don't you remember? Derek frowned. I forgot about that. And I've never heard of a banshee with glowing red eyes. Are you sure she is a banshee and not something else? Lydia smirked. Let's just say I'm special like Scott, and leave it at that. Allison suddenly tensed. Scott, whatever did this, it's still here. I can feel it. Scott nodded. I know. I just wanted to see if you guys could sense it too. Styles started looking around frantically. Wait, it's still here? Scott smacked him on the back of the head. Stop looking around like an idiot and use your senses. After a moment of focus, the entire pack turned their attention to a branch of a nearby tree. A long-eared owl perched there, watching them intently. Braden, Derek, Josh, and Cora followed their line of sight and saw it too. Styles gulped. That's a woman, right? And whatever she is, it's definitely something evil. Scott looked at the owl and asked, "Does anyone recognize what she is?" Allison nodded. "If I'm not mistaken, that's a striga." Erica added, "Yeah, I read about them too. They're always female." "I think Allison is right." Scott asked, "What are her powers?" Allison explained, "A striga is an owl shapeshifter and a vampire-like creature from Slavic mythology. According to the myth, strigas sleep in graves during the day and emerge at night to hunt humans. They suck their blood before eating their insides." Erica added, "And they're very vengeful." Scott glanced at the striga and smirked. "She's an alpha. Erica, she's yours." Erica hesitated. "But I can't fly. The moment I attack, she's just going to take off. I don't think she's dumb enough to fight a whole werewolf pack alone." Scott grinned. "That's easy to solve." He then turned to the striga. "Hey, you heard everything we said, right? So I'll give you two options. One, you fight my beta. If you win, I'll let you escape. You can even kill her if you can. I'm sure a werewolf's blood is much more appealing to you than a normal human's." He paused, his smile vanishing. "And the second option?" Scott's body melted into shadows, and in an instant, he reappeared on the tree branch beside the owl. His red eyes glowed as he looked down at her and said coldly, "You deal with me, and there's no way you can win." The striga turned her head, her large owl eyes filled with shock and fear. She flapped her wings, trying to escape, but Scott grabbed her by the back of the neck. He leaped off the branch and slammed her into the ground. "If I were you, I'd choose option one," Scott said casually. But the striga didn't listen. She flapped her wings and took off into the sky. Scott watched her go and then turned to Lydia. "Lydia, please show her that she doesn't have a choice." Lydia smirked, removed her jacket, and handed it to Allison. She wore a backless sweater so her wings wouldn't rip through her clothes. A moment later, massive black wings sprouted from her back, and her eyes glowed crimson red. With a single powerful flap, Lydia shot into the air, quickly catching up with the striga. She appeared in front of the owl and let out a piercing scream, unleashing a sonic wave that struck the striga hard, sending her crashing back to the ground near Scott and the others. As the striga hit the ground, she shifted back into her human form, a stunning, naked blonde woman. She didn't seem bothered by her lack of clothing as she looked at Scott and said, "I didn't offend you or your pack. Why are you attacking me?" Scott narrowed his eyes. "You just killed someone in my territory and ate him. Don't you think that's an offense against me?" The striga shrugged. "I couldn't help it. I was hungry." Allison scoffed. "If you were hungry, you could have eaten a deer. Why did you have to kill and eat a human?" The striga turned to Allison, licking her lips. "Animals don't satisfy my hunger, gorgeous." Allison's expression hardened. "I see. So just like the books say, you're nothing more than a monster that enjoys hunting and feeding on humans." The striga shrugged. "That's what I am." Meanwhile, Styles was staring at the striga's naked body when Malia smacked him on the back of the head. "Have you seen enough?" she asked. Styles snapped back to reality. "I wasn't looking at anything." The striga chuckled and looked at him. "Boy, I'll let you and everyone in your pack do whatever you want to me. Just spare my life. I'll leave your territory and never return." Styles made a disgusted face. "Yeah, no thanks. And on behalf of my entire pack, we'll pass. Except maybe Boyd, he might want to have fun with you." Boyd glared at him. "Styles, are you looking for a fight?" Styles grinned. "No, I'm just trying to help you, man." Boyd scoffed. "Thanks, but I'm good." Allison rolled her eyes and turned to Erica. "Go ahead and kill the disgusting bitch already." Erica smirked, her golden eyes glowing with excitement. She lunged at the striga, landing a powerful punch to her face, sending her crashing to the ground. She then cracked her knuckles and said, "Let's go, bitch. Show me what you've got." The Striga pushed herself off the ground, glaring at Erica with fury. "You're too arrogant for a beta." Then, she turned her gaze to Scott and asked, "If I win, are you really going to let me leave alive?" Scott nodded. Yes. She listened to his heartbeat, confirming he wasn't lying, before exhaling, "I hope you keep your word." Her eyes glowed red, and her body began to transform. Her head turned into an owl head, her fingers elongated into razor-sharp talons, and her legs morphed into powerful bird-like limbs. Feathers sprouted all over her body, and massive wings emerged from her back. Then, without warning, she attacked. Erica barely managed to dodge the Striga's strikes, struggling to land a hit. The creature was too fast. Every time Erica tried to counter, the Striga slipped away with fast speed. Realizing she couldn't keep up, Erica made a bold decision. She stopped dodging. The Striga's talons sank deep into Erica's shoulder. A smirk spread across Erica's lips. She grabbed the Striga's wrist in an iron grip, refusing to let go. "Damn it, let go of me." The Striga hissed, struggling to break free, but Erica held on tightly. "I got you now, bitch." Erica growled. "You may be faster than me, but you're not stronger." With that, she unleashed a brutal barrage of punches, each strike harder than the last. The Striga screeched in pain, her struggles weakening until, at last, her body slumped, unconscious, and shifted back into her human form. Erica wasted no time. She dug her claws into the Striga's chest, absorbing every last ounce of her power. As the process finished, Erica's golden eyes turned crimson red. The Striga's once youthful body withered into that of a frail, shriveled old woman. Scott approached and inserted his claws into the back of her neck, diving into her memories. And when he was done, he was about to deliver the killing blow when Erica stopped him. "Wait, Scott," she said, taking a deep breath. "Let me do it. I have to take a life eventually." Scott nodded. "Go ahead." Erica clenched her jaw, then with a swift motion, snapped the Striga's neck. Immediately after, she turned and ran behind a tree, vomiting. Isaac followed her, gently rubbing her back. Scott sighed, then ignited the corpse with his flames, reducing it to ashes. Allison asked, "What did you see in her memories?" Scott crossed his arms. "She arrived in Beacon Hills 2 days ago. That poor guy was her first victim." Lydia frowned. "Was she alone? Did she have a pack?" Scott shook his head. "She was alone." Stiles asked, "Was she drawn here by the Nemeton again?" Scott shook his head. "No. Because of what she is, she couldn't stay in one place for too long without risking exposure. She was traveling and chose to stop here to hunt for a while before moving on. She did sense the Nemeton when she arrived, but it didn't matter much to her." Just then, Isaac and Erica returned. Scott glanced at Erica. "Are you okay?" Erica wiped her mouth and nodded. "I'm fine. Actually, I feel great. I'm stronger than ever." Scott smiled. "Good." Then, he gestured toward the victim's body. "Now, what should we do? Should we call Uncle Noah, or should I just burn the body?" Stiles said, "What if he had a family? I'm sure they'd want his body back. We should call my dad." Scott nodded in agreement. They contacted Sheriff Stalinsky, who arrived to handle the situation. Once everything was settled, Scott and the others returned to the ranch, where they enjoyed a barbecue with Melissa, Victoria, and Chris. The morning after saving Cora and Josh, Derek woke up and found himself in Scott's house. As he got up, he immediately started looking for his sister. He finally found her in the backyard, doing push-ups. Derek walked over and said, "Cora, stop. Your body is still weak. You're not done healing." Cora stood up and replied, "Yeah? Well, I'm done lying around. Are you gonna help me go after them?" Derek shook his head. "No. You're not going after them. They're too dangerous." Cora glared at him. I came back because I heard rumors about a powerful new alpha. A Hale. And he's building a pack in Beacon Hills. She started throwing punches at Derek as she continued. Do you know how long I waited to hear something like that? Derek dodged her strikes effortlessly. Cora then attempted to kick him, her voice filled with emotion. Do you have any idea how it felt to find out you were alive? Derek avoided her kick, and when she tried to punch him again, he easily caught her arms. Cora struggled in his grip, glaring at him. Fight back, you coward. Derek sighed and released her. Get some rest. Cora scoffed. I can't believe I got my ass thrown in a vault for 3 months for you. Derek's expression softened. I'm sorry to disappoint you. Cora snorted and walked back into the house. Inside, Melissa was making breakfast with Victoria. Soon the pack, along with Derek and his group, gathered to eat. A little later, Scott and Allison returned from the lake house after spending the night there and joined everyone for breakfast. As they sat down, Derek looked at Scott. Scott, I'm leaving Cora with you and your pack until I deal with Deucalion. Is that okay with you? Scott nodded. She can stay, but I don't think you should go after Deucalion, especially since we killed one of his pack members yesterday. Derek shook his head. I'm not going after them, but you know he's coming for me. I just want to make sure Cora is safe. Cora crossed her arms. I don't want to be safe, I want to fight them. Derek turned to her, his voice firm. You're just going to get yourself killed. And I just got you back, I'm not losing you again. Melissa placed a comforting hand on Cora's shoulder. Derek is right. You're no match for Deucalion and his pack. If you try to fight them, they'll just capture you again and use you against your brother. Stay with us, and don't worry about Derek. He'll be fine. Styles chimed in. Yeah, they want him in their pack, so they probably won't kill him. Probably. Scott looked at Derek. Have you thought about my offer? If you join my pack, we'll help you deal with Deucalion. Derek shook his head. No. This is my problem. I'll deal with it myself. Scott sighed. Then let Cora join my pack. Derek turned to Cora. What do you think? Do you want to join them? Cora hesitated. She didn't know what to say and just looked at her brother. Derek gave her a small smile. Don't worry about me. You can join Scott's pack with peace of mind. Cora's expression softened. Are you sure? Derek nodded. Yes. Joining them will make you safer and stronger. Cora frowned. But what about you? Derek sighed. I'm not a good alpha, I know that. Maybe one day I'll join Scott too, but not right now. Cora nodded, then turned to Scott. Then I'll join you guys. And thank you for accepting me into your pack, and for saving me yesterday. Scott smiled. You're welcome. Derek stood up and looked at Scott. Thank you for everything. And please, everyone, look after my little sister. Then, he turned to Josh. Let's go. As Derek and Josh left, Scott turned to Braden. What about you? What are you going to do now? Braden shrugged. I finished my job in Beacon Hills, so I'm leaving. Styles clapped his hands together. All right then, let me take you to my dad so you can get your stuff back before I head to school. With that, Styles, Malia, and Braden drove to the sheriff's station, while Victoria and Chris left as well. Once they were gone, Scott looked at Cora. You know what joining a pack means, right? Cora nodded. Yes. Scott's expression turned serious. And you know it's a lifelong commitment. Once you join my pack, there's no leaving. Cora met his gaze, unwavering. I'm not planning to leave. Scott stood up and walked toward her. Then give me your arm. I'm going to give you the bite, Cora asked. The bite? Scott nodded. Yes, it's necessary. You'll understand later. Cora took a deep breath and extended her arm, and Scott gave her the bite. Not long after he pulled away, black liquid started oozing from her body as she collapsed, writhing in pain. Scott turned to Melissa. Mom, please take care of her and explain everything about our abilities. We have to get to school. Melissa nodded. All right. I'll take care of her. She helped Cora up and guided her to the bathroom. With that, Scott and the rest of his pack headed to school. At lunch, the pack gathered in the cafeteria to eat together when Cora walked up to them. Scott looked at her. What are you doing here? Cora shrugged. Since I'm staying in Beacon Hills, I figured I should register at the school and attend with you guys. Scott nodded. Makes sense. By the way, how are you feeling? Cora grinned, excitement shining in her eyes. I feel amazing. Melissa explained our pack's abilities to me, and honestly, I still can't believe it, even after shifting into a giant wolf. Allison smiled warmly. Welcome to the pack. And I'm sorry again for what Kate and Gerard did to your family. Cora waved her off. You already apologized yesterday, and I don't blame you or your parents. You guys had nothing to do with it, so don't worry about it. She then glanced around the table, curiosity in her expression. Speaking of the pack, can you all tell me what you are? I asked Melissa, but she told me to ask you guys myself. Styles was the first to speak. I'm a werewolf, and I'm also the brain of the pack. If you ever find anything weird or mysterious, you have to tell me first. Cora raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Lydia smirked. Don't mind him, he's just a weirdo. I'm a banshee. Erica grinned. You saw me fight yesterday, so you know I'm a werewolf, and so is Isaac and Boyd. Allison added. I'm a werewolf too. Malia is a were-coyote, my mom is a were-tiger, and Styles' dad is a were-bear. As they chatted, the alpha twins, Ethan and Aiden, walked into the cafeteria, their eyes instantly locking onto Scott's pack. They took their seats across the room, glaring at them. Cora narrowed her eyes. Can I fight them? I feel like I can take them now. Styles shook his head. Yeah, let's not start a supernatural fight in the middle of the cafeteria and expose ourselves to the entire school. Scott said. Don't worry, Cora. You'll get your revenge, but not here. After lunch, they all returned to class, and by the end of the school day, Scott, Boyd, Styles, and Isaac played a lacrosse match before heading out. As they walked toward the parking lot, Boyd said, See you guys later. Cora wants to check on Derek, so I'm driving her there. Styles smirked, opening his mouth to say something, but Boyd shot him a warning glare. Don't you dare, Styles. Styles raised his hands in surrender. Okay, I'll shut up. Scott turned to Allison. I'm heading to the animal clinic to ask Deaton if he knows anything about that evil teacher. Allison nodded. The girls and I planned a girls' night to welcome Cora, but since she wants to check on Derek, we'll do it another time. Cora frowned. Sorry. Lydia waved her off. No big deal. Since we already planned it, we'll still do it. And when you're free, we'll do it again. Malia groaned. Do I have to come? Lydia smirked and grabbed Malia's arm. Come on, Malia. It'll be fun. We can go shopping, have fun, and you can tell us more embarrassing things about Styles. Styles' eyes widened. Wait, what? You girls make fun of me behind my back? Malia, please don't tell them anything. Malia smirked. Don't worry, Styles. I won't. Boyd and Cora left for Derek's loft while the girls drove off for their night out, leaving only Scott, Styles, and Isaac. Isaac stretched. Well, I'm heading to the animal clinic too since Erica went with them. Styles sighed. Guess I'm coming too. I need to find out what that teacher is. With that, the three of them headed to the clinic. When Boyd and Cora arrived at Derek's loft, the sharp scent of blood hit their noses. Alarmed, they rushed inside, only to find Derek standing over Josh's lifeless body, staring at it in silence. Cora's eyes widened. Derek, what happened? Derek exhaled heavily. Deucalion and his pack happened. I'm just glad you weren't here. Cora asked. Did they kill Josh? Derek shook his head. No, they made me do it. The twins. Callie. They forced my hand. Boyd asked. What about Jackson and Peter? Where are they? Derek sighed. Jackson's parents sent him to London. As for Peter, he's probably hiding somewhere, waiting for the right moment to crawl out of the shadows. Cora's gaze softened for a moment before turning determined. I'm sorry about Josh, but now that you don't have a pack, you should join ours, Derek. I promise you, it'll be the best decision you ever make. Derek's jaw tightened. Cora, this isn't the time for this. I just killed Josh. Cora scoffed. Stop feeling sorry for him. I spent 2 months locked in that vault with him and Jackson. I know exactly what kind of person he was. Did you know that when he got caught, he was trying to flee Beacon Hills? And I swear, if you guys hadn't shown up yesterday, I probably would have killed him myself. Not because I lost control, but because I hated him. Derek looked down, his voice barely above a whisper. He ran because I couldn't protect him. Cora's eyes hardened. No, he ran because he was a coward. She stepped closer, and gently turning his face so he had no choice but to look at her. Join our pack, Derek, and you will become stronger than Deucalion. I can't tell you everything right now, but I can show you. With that, she walked into the next room. Moments later, she returned, this time in her full wolf form. Her fur was a striking mix of black and white, her body massive, nearly the size of a tiger. Derek's eyes widened in shock. Cora, is that really you? Cora's wolf lips curled into a smirk. It's me. Even in this form, her voice carried a deep, resonant tone. And even though I'm still a beta, I think I can take on Deucalion now. I don't know if I could beat him yet, but I'm certain I could kill the rest of his pack. Derek let out a tired sigh. I'll talk to Scott later. For now, I need to deal with Josh's body and give him a proper burial. Cora nodded. Okay, you do that. I'll clean up the blood here. Boyd stepped forward. I'll help. Derek looked at him. Good. Then come with me and help bury Josh. Boyd shook his head. I meant I'm going to help Cora clean up, not you. Derek frowned. I see. Then, thanks. But Cora doesn't need your help. You can leave now. Cora rolled her eyes. Don't mind him, Boyd. Come and help, please. Boyd smirked at Derek before walking over to Cora. Derek's eyes flashed red, and he let out a low growl. Cora groaned. What are you doing, Derek? Don't you have a body to bury? Stop standing there growling like a fool. Derek snorted, glaring at Boyd. You better not try anything funny, kid. Derek. Cora snapped. Derek gave Boyd one last look before grabbing Josh's body and leaving. Scott, Stiles, and Isaac arrived at the animal clinic, parked their cars, and walked inside. They found Deaton bandaging a dog's injured leg. Hey Doc, how are you doing? Scott greeted. Deaton looked up and smiled slightly. Scott, are you finally back to help me around here? Scott nodded. Yeah, I just got back from my vacation. I'll start coming back to help and learn from you. Stiles and Isaac greeted Deaton as well. Scott walked over and said, Let me finish bandaging the dog. Deaton stepped aside, handing Scott the bandages. All right, go ahead. As Scott worked, he asked, What happened to him? His owner said the dog went crazy and jumped from the second floor. Deaton explained. Stiles frowned. Is this like the rest of the animals in town? Maybe. Deaton replied. Stiles exchanged a glance with Scott before saying, We think we know who's causing them to go crazy. Deaton raised an eyebrow. Who? Our new English teacher. Stiles answered. Deaton asked, And what makes you so sure it's her? Scott looked at Deaton and said, Because of the way we felt when we first met her. Something about her felt wrong. Evil. Stiles nodded. And right after we met her, A flock of crows flew to our classroom and started slamming against the windows. Scott added, Lydia can control crows, and she said they were there because of the teacher. Deaton exhaled slowly. I see. Do you have any idea what she might be? Isaac shook his head. No. We were hoping you'd know. Deaton thought for a moment. Based on what you've told me, I can't say for certain. Stiles added. Lydia also said the feeling that teacher gives her is the opposite of what she feels around you. Like she's your evil counterpart. Deaton's expression hardened. He thought for a moment before asking, Scott, are you sure she isn't a shapeshifter? Scott nodded. I'm sure. But she's definitely supernatural. Deaton's face darkened. If I'm not wrong, I think we're dealing with a Dirac. Isaac frowned. A Dirac? What's that? Deaton sighed. A Dirac is the evil counterpart of a druid. In Gaelic, druid means wise oak, but if a druid strays down the wrong path, they become a Dirac, dark oak. Stiles crossed his arms. So Doc, what exactly are we dealing with here? Deaton explained. Druids are close to nature. They try to keep the balance. But a Dirac? They abuse nature. They'll do anything to make themselves stronger. Stiles narrowed his eyes. Like what? Deaton's expression turned grim. Like sacrifices. They call it a sacrifice, but it's really just killing people or animals, and let the Nemeton tree absorb their life force, and the Dirac then draws power from it. The more they take, the stronger they become. Stiles paled. So, a lot of people are going to die. Deaton nodded. Yes. We need to find the Dirac as soon as possible and deal with her. Stiles suddenly remembered something. By the way, her name is Jennifer Blake. Do you know her? Deaton shook his head. No, I've never heard of her. Meanwhile, Allison, Lydia, Erica, and Malia were shopping when Lydia suddenly froze. Lydia! Malia called, but she didn't respond. Malia moved to shake her, but Allison stopped her. Wait, Malia. She's in a banshee trance. A moment later, Lydia snapped out of it, looking urgent. We need to go. Right now. Allison frowned. Lydia, what is it? Should we call Scott? It's not dangerous. Lydia said. But I feel like we need to be somewhere near the school. Allison nodded. All right, let's go. I'll let Scott know. She reached out telepathically to Scott, relaying Lydia's message and asking him to follow them. The girls hurried into the car, and Lydia drove fast. Lydia abruptly stopped the car in the woods near the school and got out. Follow me. Then, in a blur of speed, she took off running. The others exchanged glances before following at full speed. After a short run, they stopped. Ahead of them, two figures were tying a girl to a tree. The figures turned at the sound of their arrival. They were Jennifer and Kenneth. The moment Jennifer saw them, her eyes widened in panic. Shit! It's Scott's pack. Kenneth, run. Jennifer didn't hesitate. She bolted toward town. Kenneth hesitated for only a second before he, too, turned and ran deeper into the woods. Allison acted fast. Lydia, check if the girl is alive. Erica, Malia, don't let that woman escape. I'm going after the man. Without another word, Allison sprinted after Kenneth. Jennifer pushed herself to full speed, turning into a blur as she raced toward the town. But Erica and Malia weren't slow either. Just as they were about to catch her, Jennifer suddenly veered into a crowded area, pulling her hood up and covering her hideous face. Malia growled. I don't care about the crowd. We need to. Erica grabbed her arm, stopping her. We can't risk exposing ourselves as shapeshifters. Worse, she might hurt people if we push her. Malia clenched her fists. So we're just letting her go. She's our teacher from yesterday. I want to kill her so badly. Erica exhaled, struggling with the same frustration. I know, I have the same urge to kill her. But with all these people here, we have to let her go. For now. Malia growled under her breath, but she knew Erica was right. Let's go back to Lydia, Erica said. Malia took one last look at Jennifer before reluctantly nodding. Meanwhile, Allison was chasing Kenneth at full speed. Although he wasn't slow, she was gaining on him with every step. Realizing he couldn't outrun her, Kenneth suddenly stopped and threw a handful of mountain ash into the air. The ash formed a circle around him, creating a barrier. Allison stopped outside the circle, her red eyes glowing intensely. She said, "What kind of evil creature are you? I'm fighting the urge to kill you right now." Kenneth remained silent. Instead, he waved his hand, and a massive broken tree nearby suddenly flew toward Allison at high speed. Allison simply smiled and caught the tree with ease. "That's a nice power you've got there," she said. "What's it called again?" "Oh, I remember, telekinesis." Without hesitation, she hurled the tree back at him with all her strength. Kenneth quickly waved his hand again, breaking the tree in half before sending both halves flying toward her. "Enough playing," Allison muttered. She effortlessly dodged the flying logs and before Kenneth could react, appeared right in front of him in a blur. She slammed her fist into his stomach, sending him rolling across the ground in pain. Kenneth gasped, clutching his stomach. "How did you pass the mountain ash barrier?" he asked with difficulty. Allison grinned. "That's a secret." Then, without another word, she punched him in the face, knocking him out cold. Grabbing him by the leg, she turned and sprinted back to Lydia's location. By the time Allison arrived, Lydia, Erica, and Malia were waiting for her. "You didn't catch that woman?" Allison asked. Erica shook her head. "No. She ran into a crowd of people, so we couldn't go after her." Allison sighed. "I see. Well, at least I caught her partner." She then turned to Lydia. "How's the girl?" Lydia looked at the unconscious girl and said, "She's alive, but she hasn't woken up yet." Erica frowned. "By the way, that woman was definitely our teacher from yesterday, though her face was hideous." Just then, Scott arrived with Stiles, Isaac, and Deaton. "So, girls, what happened here?" Scott asked. After Allison explained everything, Deaton's expression darkened. They were about to sacrifice that girl. He turned to Scott. "This is bad. There's more than one Dirac in town, and whatever they're planning, it's going to be terrible." Scott glanced at Kenneth's unconscious body. "Do you know him, Deaton?" Deaton shook his head. "No." Scott knelt beside Kenneth and drove his claws into the back of his neck, attempting to read his memories. After a few moments, he pulled back with a frustrated look. "I can't access all of his memories. They're protected by some kind of energy. If I push further, he'll either turn into an idiot or die." Scott frowned. "But I got enough." Allison's eyes lit up with excitement. "Then can I absorb his powers?" Scott smirked. "You seem eager, Allison. What's his ability?" "Telekinesis," she said with a grin. Stiles immediately jumped in. "Wait. Allison, you already have poison abilities. Let me have this one, please." Allison laughed. "Nope. I caught him, so I get his ability." Scott chuckled. "Go ahead, then." Allison pressed her claws into Kenneth's chest, trying to absorb his abilities. But after a few moments, she pulled back, frowning. "I only absorbed a little bit of strength from him." "Why?" Deaton sighed. "Just as I thought." Stiles asked. "What do you mean, Doc?" "Druids and Diracs don't have natural abilities like werewolves and other shapeshifters do," Deaton explained. "Their powers are borrowed from nature. If Allison had fought him a little longer, he would have lost all the energy he absorbed from the Nemeton and become just a regular human." Frustrated, Allison kicked Kenneth's unconscious body. "Damn it. I got excited for nothing." Kenneth groaned as he woke up from the pain. Scott crouched beside him. "Why are you in Beacon Hills?" Kenneth smirked. "Go ahead and kill me." I'm not telling you anything. Scott sighed. As you wish. Kenneth's smirk faltered. Wait, aren't you going to torture me? Scott shook his head. I don't do torture. Besides, I already got enough from your memories. Kenneth's eyes widened in alarm, but before he could say another word, Scott drove his hand into Kenneth's chest, crushing his heart. Then, using his fire ability, he burned Kenneth's body to ashes. Allison looked at Scott. What did you get from his memories? Scott's face was serious. There are 5 Diracs in Beacon Hills, including Jennifer and Kenneth. They want to use the blood of an alpha to summon something. But before that, they need to kill people and feed their life force to the Nemeton to strengthen themselves. He paused. I also know where they live. That's all I could get from him. Styles frowned. Should we go after them? Scott nodded. Yes. Let's check their place, though I doubt they're still there. Jennifer probably warned them, and they would have fled by now. Allison clenched her fists. Let's check anyway. Scott said. Who's going to take the girl to the hospital? Deaton stepped forward. I will. You guys focus on the Diracs. Scott nodded. All right. Let's move. They got into their cars and drove to the house Kenneth's memories had shown Scott. But when they arrived, the Diracs were long gone. Scott exhaled in frustration. Let's go home. There's nothing we can do now. Jennifer's POV after escaping from Malia and Erica. Jennifer quickly pulled out her phone and called Vivian. Vivian answered almost immediately. What's up, Jennifer? Jennifer took a deep breath. We ran into Scott's pack while performing the sacrifice. I managed to escape, but Kenneth, he probably won't make it. What? Vivian's voice sharpened. How did they find you? Jennifer shook her head, frustration boiling inside her. I don't know. But you and the others need to leave the house immediately. I think we should get out of town for a while. Vivian was silent for a moment before she spoke again. All right. Let's do that. We'll hunt some people outside of Beacon Hills, then bring them back here and kill them all on top of the Nemeton tree. After that, we'll hunt down Deucalion and use his blood for the summoning. Jennifer hesitated. I just hope what's written in that book of yours is true. Vivian chuckled darkly. Don't worry. It is. Jennifer sighed. Okay. Just come pick me up. I'm almost out of energy. We need to leave quickly. Where are you? Vivian asked. Near the hospital. Jennifer ended the call, leaning against the wall to catch her breath. Not long after, Vivian, Sloane, and Yumai arrived in a car, picked her up, and together, the 4 of them drove out of Beacon Hills. Scott's POV the next morning. Scott woke up, took a shower, and had breakfast with Isaac and Melissa. After finishing, he and Isaac left for school. The morning classes dragged on, dull and uneventful. By lunchtime, Scott and his pack gathered in the cafeteria. Cora looked at Scott. By the way, Derek wants to join our pack. Scott raised an eyebrow. I thought he wanted to be the alpha of his own pack. Cora turned to Boyd. Didn't you tell them? Boyd shrugged. No. Josh had nothing to do with us, so when I left your place yesterday, I forgot about him. Styles frowned. What happened to Josh? Cora said. When Boyd and I went to Derek's place yesterday, we found Josh dead. Derek said Deucalion and his pack came and made him kill Josh. Scott exhaled. I see. So Derek has no pack now. Styles smirked. There's still Peter if you can count him. Cora scoffed. No. I don't trust him, and neither does Derek. So, he doesn't count. In fact, after Derek told me that Peter killed Laura, I wanted to kill him myself, but Derek stopped me. Scott nodded. If Derek wants to join the pack, he's welcome. Tell him to come to the ranch tonight. Cora nodded. I will. Malia leaned forward, crossing her arms. So when are we going after Deucalion and his pack? Except for the new girl, all of you are alphas. I think it's about time I become one too. Scott smirked. You're right. They've stayed in our territory long enough. It's time for them to pay the rent. Malia scowled. What rent? I don't want their money, I want their power. Scott chuckled. Don't worry. They're going to pay with their lives. But speaking of money, Cora, do you think Deucalion is rich? Cora thought for a moment before nodding. I think so. He's an old alpha, and like my family, he probably has a lot of money. Scott grinned. All right. Styles, find out where our piggy bank lives. As soon as you do, we're taking all his money. Styles grinned. Leave it to me. I just hope he has more money than the vampire. Malia narrowed her eyes at Styles. What money are you guys talking about? I said I want to become an alpha. I don't care about the stupid money. Styles patted her shoulder. Relax, babe. You'll get what you want. But money isn't stupid. Without it, we can't buy beef, chicken, and all the meat you love. Malia tilted her head. Don't we have those at the ranch? Styles raised an eyebrow. Yeah, but what about clothes, makeup, and all the other stuff girls like to buy? Malia scoffed. Victoria and Allison buy that stuff for me. Besides, I don't like makeup, it has a strong smell. Styles blinked. You really don't care about money, do you? Malia shrugged. Styles, I lived 7 years just fine without money. Scott cleared his throat. Anyway, Styles, find out where Deucalion and his pack are. Isaac smirked. Or we could just go catch the twins and read their memories. Scott frowned. I thought about that, but I didn't see them at school today. Cora's expression darkened. What if they went after Derek again? Allison shook her head. Don't worry. They want him in their pack, so he'll be safe for now. Lydia tapped her fingers on the table. They're probably looking for you or Peter. They could use either of you to make Derek join them. Cora sighed. I know, but I'm still worried about him. Erica rolled her eyes. Doesn't he have a phone? Call him. Cora quickly pulled out her phone and called Derek. After confirming he was okay, Scott and his pack returned to class. By the end of the school day, as they walked toward the parking lot, Scott suddenly smirked. Styles, you don't need to look for Deucalion and his pack. One of them is already here. Scott and his pack stood near their cars, waiting until the students and teachers had left. Then, Scott called out. Come out. We know you're there. From behind the school perimeter wall, Callie stepped forward, her red alpha eyes glowing menacingly. She could feel the strength radiating from Scott and his pack, especially Scott, but she didn't care. With a low growl, she demanded, Which one of you killed Ennis? Lydia, unimpressed, glanced at Callie's bare feet and smirked. Can't you afford shoes? And seriously, woman, you are in desperate need of a pedicure. Cora growled, her golden eyes glowing. Guys, let me fight her. Please. She used to beat me every chance she got when I was locked up in that vault for 3 months. I just want to make her pay. I don't want her alpha spark. Malia can have that. Styles turned to Malia. What do you think? Malia shrugged. She can fight her. Scott nodded. Then it's decided. Let's take this to the woods. We don't want anyone seeing 2 werewolves tearing each other apart. Callie growled. I'm not going anywhere. Tell me who killed Ennis. Without warning, Scott moved in a blur, grabbing Callie by her hair before she even reacted, his voice dangerously low. I wasn't asking, bitch. Let's go, guys. Then he sprinted toward the nearby woods, and dragged Callie by her hair like a ragdoll. Once deep enough into the woods, Scott finally released her, dropping her to the ground before stepping back. The rest of the pack arrived seconds later, and Cora stepped forward, cracking her knuckles. I'm going to enjoy beating the shit out of you, bitch. Callie staggered to her feet, her body tense with fear as she looked at Scott. Only now did she fully grasp the gravity of her mistake. Damn it. What was I thinking, coming after a monster like this alone? And it's not just him, the danger I feel from his pack. It's even greater than Deucalion. This isn't just any pack. They're monsters. I need to get out of here. Her instinct screamed at her to run, but deep down, she knew escaping wouldn't be that easy. Styles smirked, taking a deep breath. Oh, I smell fear. Cora, she's about to run. Cora's golden eyes gleamed. Like hell I'm letting that happen. Callie turned to her, forcing a sneer. And what makes you think you can beat me? You are just a beta, and you were locked up in that vault for months. You're weak. Cora didn't bother replying. She just attacked. Callie snorted and raised her arm to block, only to realize her mistake too late. Cora's punch landed like a sledgehammer, nearly shattering Callie's arm and sending her flying. She crashed into a tree, coughing up blood from the sheer force of the impact. Clutching her injured arm, Callie snarled, "You'll pay for that, you little bitch." Then she began shifting, fur sprouted along her cheeks, her ears sharpened, and with a feral roar, she lunged at Cora. The two clashed, and Cora held her ground, matching Callie blow for blow. She was no weaker than the so-called Alpha. The more they fought, the more panic settled into Callie's gut. Cora was strong, far stronger than Callie had expected. Every punch shattered bones, and every slash of her claws carved deep wounds into Callie's body. Callie barely landed a hit. And when she did, Cora's injuries healed almost immediately. Eventually, Callie couldn't keep up. Her movements slowed, her body battered and bloodied. Then she fell. Cora straddled Callie, and delivered punch after punch, hammering her into the ground until Callie lost consciousness. After that, Cora stood up, breathing heavily. Then she grinned. That was awesome. She turned to Malia and said, "She's all yours." Malia stepped forward, and plunged her claws into Callie's chest. She closed her eyes, absorbing the alpha spark. When it was done, Malia stood up, her eyes now glowing red. A slow, delighted grin spread across her face. "Wow. I feel so strong." Then, she shifted. Gray fur erupted across her body. Her head elongated into a coyote's snout. Her height increased, muscles bulging, and behind her, a thick, fluffy tail swayed. Her deep, guttural voice rumbled through the clearing. "This is amazing." As they watched Malia, Allison said, "You know, I've always wondered, why do we become so much stronger after absorbing an alpha's power for the first time, even though they're weaker than us?" Scott replied, "It's not about their strength. It's about the alpha spark. Once you absorb it and become an alpha, your whole being evolves. You gain a deeper connection with your wolf side, or whatever animal form you shift into." Styles nodded thoughtfully. "So, if a beta is the first stage in the evolution of a werewolf, and an alpha is the second stage, do you guys think there's a third stage after alpha?" Scott shook his head. "I don't know." Lydia smirked. "Probably not, because if there were a third stage, Scott would be at stage 5 by now." Styles chuckled. "More like stage 10. Have you guys even seen him in his wolf form after he beat the Cerberus and absorbed his power?" Everyone except Allison shook their heads. Allison grinned. "I saw him. He's almost as big as an elephant. Plus, he can ignite his entire body in flames. It's so cool. I can't wait until I can control an element like fire or lightning." Styles turned to Scott, shaking his head. "Seriously, dude, you're way too overpowered. I don't think there's anything in this world that can beat you." Scott laughed. "Maybe a dragon?" Styles scoffed. "Yeah, right. You'd probably just beat it, absorb its power, and get even stronger." Scott smirked. "It's not like you guys are normal either. One day, you'll all be as strong as me." Styles rolled his eyes. "Yeah, no. That's not how it works. You're our alpha. The stronger we get, the stronger you get." Scott raised an eyebrow. "Styles, there's a sour smell coming from you. Are you jealous?" Styles grabbed Scott's shirt and started shaking him. "Of course, I'm jealous. But not of your strength. I just want to control fire too." Scott laughed, pushing him away. Be patient, man. Your time will come. Allison walked over to the nearly dead Callie and inserted her claws into the back of her neck, reading her memories. After a moment, she stood up and said, Deucalion and the twins don't live together. Deucalion has an apartment of his own, and the twins rented a house. We can't deal with them there. If we fight, their neighbors will hear everything. Scott nodded. Does Callie have a phone? Allison shook her head. No, she doesn't. Scott sighed. Then tomorrow, we'll find Morel and have her deliver a message to Deucalion. We'll tell him to meet us somewhere so we can settle our differences. With that, Scott swiftly ended Callie's life and burned her body to ash. I'm heading to the animal clinic. Scott said. See you guys later. Lydia called out. Wait, Scott. I want to see your wolf form. You know, with the fire and everything. Erica grinned. Me too. Scott glanced at his pack, noting their curiosity. All right. He stepped behind a tree, removed his clothes, and shifted into his wolf form, a massive black wolf with glowing red eyes, nearly the size of an elephant. The sheer presence of his form made the pack take a step back in awe. Boyd whispered, I can't wait to be that big. Styles grinned. All right, now use your fire ability. Scott ignited his body, and flames erupted around his massive form. Damn. Styles muttered, eyes wide. That is so cool. The rest of the pack stood in stunned admiration, fully realizing the sheer power of their alpha. After a moment, Scott extinguished the flames and shifted back to human form, quickly putting his clothes back on. With the show over, the pack headed toward their cars. Scott said, I'll see you guys back at the ranch. And Cora, make sure to tell Derek to wait for me there. With that, Scott got in his car and drove to the animal clinic. After finishing his shift at the animal clinic, Scott drove back to the ranch and found his entire pack gathered in the living room. Scott greeted them before turning to Derek and asking, So, are you ready to join my pack? Derek sighed. Turns out I'm a terrible alpha. Now I have no pack, so, yeah, I'm willing to join your pack if you'll accept me. Scott smiled. Of course I'll accept you, but you should know, once you join my pack, there's no quitting. Derek nodded. I'm okay with that. Scott then explained everything about his abilities to Derek. After listening, Derek was stunned. I can't believe something like you and your pack even exist. Cora smirked. I still can't believe it either. Even though I can turn into a giant wolf and I beat Callie, it feels like a dream. And Derek, you should see Scott's wolf form, it's terrifying. I'm just glad I'm in his pack and not his enemy. Scott chuckled. Come on, my wolf form isn't that scary. Cora rolled her eyes. If I wasn't in your pack and I saw you in that form, I'd be scared for life, even if you didn't attack me. Scott laughed before turning back to Derek. Are you ready? I'll give you the bite, but it's going to hurt, so brace yourself. Derek took a deep breath and nodded. I'm ready. Melissa chimed in. Scott, take him to the bathroom before you give him the bite. I don't want that black liquid oozing out of him all over my floors. Scott sighed. All right. He and Derek headed to the bathroom. After biting him, Scott patted his shoulder. Hang in there, man. He then stepped out, closing the door behind him, and rejoined the pack in the living room. They spent the next couple of hours talking and eating dinner, while Derek endured the painful transformation. Eventually, the black liquid stopped oozing from his body, and after a quick shower, he joined them back in the living room. Scott looked him over. How are you feeling? Derek sat down, flexing his fingers. Incredibly strong. Now I understand why Cora said she still can't believe how powerful she is. Styles leaned forward. Did you try shifting yet? Derek nodded. Yeah. I can shift into a werewolf form like Scott's. And I can turn into a wolf too, a very big wolf. Cora grinned. Show us your wolf form. Styles nodded excitedly. Yeah, we want to see what color you are. Derek sighed but stood up. All right. He stepped behind a wall, took off his clothes to avoid tearing them, and shifted. When he emerged, he was a massive blackish wolf, nearly the size of a bull. Styles said, "So you're a black wolf, but not the same shade as Scott." Cora huffed. "Not fair. Why is his wolf form bigger than mine?" Lydia smirked. "Because he's an alpha." Derek went behind the wall, shifted back into his human form and wore his clothes, and Scott turned to Cora. "Tomorrow, we're going after Deucalion. Once we take him down, you'll become an alpha too." Styles grinned. "Which will leave only my dad as a beta in our pack." Scott looked at him and said, "We're going to kill Deucalion and the twins tomorrow. Do you think your dad can be okay with that?" Styles thought for a moment before shaking his head. "He'll be fine with killing Deucalion, but I don't think he'd be okay with us killing the twins. They're our age after all." Scott considered this. "Then we won't kill them. We'll take their alpha spark and let them live. I don't think they're truly evil." Derek frowned. "They forced me to kill Josh." Styles shrugged. "Well, no one's perfect. And honestly, no one liked Josh anyway." Scott nodded. "All right, it's decided. Styles, tell your dad tomorrow. And let him know if he wants to come with us, he should leave his badge behind." Styles said, "I'm spending the night here tonight. I'll tell him after school tomorrow." After that, Scott stood up and stretched. "Good night, guys. Allison, let's go home." Chris raised an eyebrow. "Wait, what home? Isn't this your home?" Scott shook his head. "This is my mom's and the pack's house. Allison and I live at the lake house." Chris frowned. "What? That's not allowed. You and Allison are still young. You can't have your own house, and you definitely can't live alone together." Scott smirked. "You know, as your son-in-law, I thought you'd be proud of me for owning a house." Chris snorted. "Well, good for you. But Allison is not living there alone with you." Victoria sighed. "Chris, let them be." Chris grumbled, but relented. "Fine. But we're spending the night there too." Allison groaned. "Dad." Chris feigned innocence. "What? Aren't you happy that your parents will be spending the night at your house?" Allison blushed. "That's not, ugh, never mind." Scott chuckled. "Of course, you two are welcome." Then, he casually threw an arm around Chris's shoulder and whispered, "Although, I should warn you, we're a bit loud at night, if you know what I mean." Chris shoved him off. "Damn it, you punk. One day, I will kill you." Scott laughed, already heading toward the door. "Come on, Allison. I don't think your dad wants to come with us anymore." Still red-faced, Allison muttered, "Good night, everyone." Before hurrying after Scott, Chris glared at the door. "I hate that kid." Victoria rolled her eyes. "No, you don't. Let's go home." She then turned to Malia. "Malia, are you coming with us or staying here?" Malia shrugged. "I'll stay here with Styles." Chris gave Styles a smile. "Styles, I just remembered, we never finished that conversation from last time." Styles immediately stepped back. "What conversation? Why don't I remember?" He turned to Malia. "Malia, help." Malia smirked. "Come on, Styles. You can survive a conversation with Chris. I believe in you." Styles gave her a pitiful look. "No, I won't. Help me." Chris smirked. "See, this is how I want Scott to act around me. A little respect wouldn't hurt." Victoria sighed. "Okay, stop bullying Styles. Let's go." Once they left, Malia turned to Styles. "Why are you so scared of him?" Styles huffed. "You don't understand. I'm not scared of him, it's just awkward. He's like your father figure, and I never know what to say." Derek stood up and stretched. "I'm going to train for a bit in the woods. I need to get used to my strength. Cora, you coming?" Cora shook her head. Nope. I already trained with Callie. But be careful, and remember we can talk telepathically now, so if anything happens, let me know. Derek smirked. I doubt anything out there can threaten me now, but I'll keep that in mind. Melissa said, Don't get cocky. You're strong, but there are a lot of strong and weird things out there. So be careful. Derek nodded. I will. Good night, guys. He turned and left. As the door closed behind him, Melissa clapped her hands together. All right, kids, time for bed. You have school tomorrow. And Styles, Malia, keep it down, will you? Especially you, Styles. Styles gasped. Why me? Wait. Never mind. Malia, let's go. He grabbed Malia's hand and dragged her to their room as the rest of the pack laughed. The next morning, after Scott and the pack had breakfast, Scott turned to Melissa and said, Mom, please go to Deaton and make sure he's safe. Since we killed Callie yesterday, Deucalion might try to retaliate by going after someone close to me. Deaton is the only one I'm worried about. Melissa frowned. But you told me Alan's sister is the emissary of Deucalion's pack. She wouldn't let them hurt her own brother, would she? Scott shook his head. I don't know, Mom. But it's better to be safe than sorry. Melissa sighed. All right, I'll go to the animal clinic right now. After that, Scott and his pack headed to school. Later that day, after their French class ended, Scott and his pack remained in the classroom, waiting for the other students to leave. Soon, only they and Morel remained. Morel was the first to speak. Did you guys kill Callie yesterday? Cora nodded. Yeah, I did. Do you want to avenge her or something? Morel shook her head. No. But Deucalion is furious. He felt it the moment she died. He doesn't know for sure that you were the ones who did it, though. Styles leaned forward. So, who does he think killed her? Morel sighed. He thinks it was Derek. He went to Derek's place last night, but didn't find him. Instead, the twins captured Peter. They told me to tell you that if Derek doesn't meet them at the Beacon Hills First National Bank, they'll kill him. Cora smirked. They can kill him if they want. Honestly, they'd be doing me and Derek a favor. Morel asked. You don't care if your uncle dies? Cora shrugged. Nope. I'd rather kill him myself, but my stupid brother won't let me. Shaking her head, Morel turned to Scott. By the way, Deucalion asked me to tell you to come with Derek. He said it's time for the two of you to meet. Scott nodded. Great. I was going to ask you to arrange a meeting anyway. Looks like there's no need. When does he want to meet? Tonight. Morel answered. Scott started walking out of the classroom. Tell him we'll be there. With that, Scott and his pack left. After school, Styles drove to the sheriff's station and went straight to his dad's office. He told Noah about Deucalion and his pack before asking, Do you want to come with us, Dad? Noah sighed. Are you sure we can't just arrest them? Styles raised an eyebrow. Dad, you're a shapeshifter now. What do you think? Noah sighed again, rubbing his temples. Okay, but we're not killing the twins. They're just kids. And they didn't actually kill anyone in Beacon Hills. Styles nodded. All right. And after tonight, you'll be an alpha too. That night, the pack gathered. Aside from Melissa, Victoria, and Chris, everyone drove to the Beacon Hills First National Bank. After parking their cars and walking inside, they found Deucalion sitting in a chair with the twins by his side. Peter lay on the ground in front of them, bloodied and beaten. Styles smirked at Peter. What happened, Peter? Just a few days ago, you said you knew how to survive. Peter groaned. Now is not the time for that. Help me, guys. Deucalion turned his gaze to Scott and his pack, his expression calm. But inwardly, he felt an overwhelming sense of danger, especially from Scott. Still, he told himself, I'm the demon wolf. This is just a trick. There's no way they're stronger than me. I'm even sensing danger from the Hale siblings. If they were really that strong, Cora wouldn't have let us keep her captive for 3 months, and Derek wouldn't have let us kill his beta the other day. This must be an illusion. Gritting his teeth, Deucalion clenched his fists, digging his claws deep into his palms to suppress the fear creeping into his mind. Then he spoke. Peter, you can go. You're useless now. Peter struggled to his feet, moving toward Derek while keeping his eyes on Deucalion and the twins. Once he was behind Derek, he let out a heavy breath. Cora scoffed. Too bad. I wish he'd killed you. Peter glanced at her. I'm your uncle, Cora. How can you want me dead? Cora snorted. My uncle, who killed my sister, Laura. Peter's face darkened. I lost control back then. I'm sorry. Cora ignored him and said nothing more. Deucalion finally stood, looking directly at Scott and Derek. Join my pack. Together, we will be unstoppable. Scott didn't hesitate. Not interested. Deucalion tilted his head. But you haven't even heard my pitch. Scott said. I've heard enough. You make people kill their own pack before joining you, right? Deucalion smirked. No. I only make them kill one. The rest? They kill on their own. I don't even have to ask. Then, his expression turned serious as he took a step closer. Scott, join me. Get rid of the rest of your pack. They're just a liability. He took another step forward, his voice dripping with conviction. We all know a pack is strongest due to its individual parts. The stronger the individual parts, the greater the whole. When I lost my sight, one of my betas assumed I wasn't fit for my role anymore. So, he tried to take it from me. Killing him taught me something about alphas I didn't know they could do. His power was added to mine. I became stronger faster, more powerful than I'd ever been. Styles scoffed. And then you killed the rest of your pack, even the ones loyal to you. Deucalion smirked. Yes. I killed them all. I took the individual parts and became a greater individual whole. Join me, Scott. In time, you'll understand. Scott's eyes darkened. I already understand. His voice turned cold. You're a psychopath. Deucalion growled, his anger flaring. His muscles tensed as his body began to shift. You think you know me? His voice deepened into a menacing snarl. You've never seen anything like me. I am the alpha of alphas. I am the apex of apex predators. I am death, destroyer of worlds. I am the demon wolf. With those words, Deucalion's transformation completed. His skin darkened, his eyes burned a sinister red, and his shattered glasses fell from his face. Styles, instead of being intimidated, whistled in admiration. Damn, that was cool. Scott, do something like that. Scott raised an eyebrow. Why don't you do it? Styles nudged him. Come on, man, you're the alpha. You gotta have a badass transformation and say something cool. Scott sighed. Alright, let me think. Deucalion snarled. Are you looking down on me? You. Scott suddenly snapped his fingers. Got it. Stepping forward. His body began to shift. The shadows surged around him, enveloping him in a swirling vortex of darkness. His form grew larger, more monstrous, until he stood at a towering 2.8 meters tall. His fur was pitch black. His head was that of a wolf, but more terrifying, with razor-sharp fangs and glowing red eyes. Then the air shimmered. Flames ignited across his body, wrapping around his frame like a living inferno. Deucalion took an involuntary step back, fear flickering across his face. What are you? Scott's deep, resonant voice echoed through the empty bank. You think you're the apex predator? You think you're death itself. He took a step forward, the floor beneath him cracking from the force. The flames intensified, casting long, flickering shadows. That's because you've never seen anything like me. I am the shadow that consumes the light. I am the fire that burns through the darkness. I am the beast that hunts monsters. I am the destroyer and the savior. Scott's eyes locked onto Deucalion's, an overwhelming pressure radiating from him. The air grew still, like the world itself was holding its breath. I am the Wolf King. Then, he roared. The sheer force of his roar rippled through the air, sending a shockwave that blasted Deucalion off his feet. The self-proclaimed demon wolf crashed to the ground, his body trembling as his transformation was forcefully undone. He lay there, stunned, barely able to comprehend what had just happened. As for the twins, they huddled in a corner, whimpering and shaking, unable to even look at Scott. Fear had completely taken hold of them. Scott turned his massive wolf head to Styles. Well, was that cool enough for you? Styles, practically vibrating with excitement, cheered. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Grinning like a madman, Styles walked over to Deucalion, who was still sprawled on the floor, and kicked him. Did you see that? That is our alpha. He kicked him again. And you thought you could make a monster like him join your pack and be your little bitch? Ignoring Deucalion, Styles turned back to Scott, and said with excitement, Man, that was so freaking awesome. I can't wait to control fire or thunder like you. Boyd approached, nodding in agreement. That was incredible. I think I'll work on a transformation of my own, using my earth element. The rest of the pack gathered around Scott, staring at him in awe. Lydia smirked. Hey Scott, what did you mean when you called yourself the Wolf King? Allison smiled, stepping beside him. If Scott doesn't deserve to call himself the Wolf King, then no one does. Derek folded his arms, shaking his head in disbelief. I knew you were strong, but I didn't know you were this strong. Cora said. I told you. And he's not just strong, he's terrifying. Peter was terrified. He thought Scott would blame him for being kidnapped and beat his ass, so he sneaked out of the bank on shaky legs. Once he was outside, he ran away as if his life depended on it. Just then, Noah came back to his senses, his gaze falling on Deucalion lying motionless on the ground and the twins whimpering in the corner. He exhaled, rubbing his temples. All right, so what now? They don't exactly look like they have the will to fight anymore. Scott's deep, growling voice cut through the silence. Ethan, Aiden, we can spare your lives, but you're going to lose your alpha spark. So, will you surrender willingly? Or should we take it by force? Aiden bit his lip so hard it bled, trying to stop his body from trembling. Then, he snapped Ethan's arm. Ethan yelped in pain, but the shock brought him back to his senses. He lifted his head and forced himself to look at the beast before him, standing there like a nightmare given form. We're willing. His voice barely came out as a whisper. Scott turned his glowing red eyes to Noah and Cora. Uncle Noah, Cora, take their alpha spark. Without hesitation, Cora and Noah moved in. Their claws extended and stabbed the twins' chests, absorbing their alpha spark. Ethan and Aiden didn't struggle. They shuddered as the power drained from them, their red eyes fading back to a dull blue. Then, suddenly Cora and Noah's eyes flashed a brilliant red. They had ascended. They were alphas now. Scott turned his gaze back to the weakened twins. You two can go. His voice was calm, but the authority behind it was undeniable. But remember, Beacon Hills is my territory. If you ever harm innocent people, you'll answer to me and my pack. Ethan and Aiden nodded hastily, barely able to meet his gaze. Supporting each other, they staggered out of the bank, disappearing into the night. Scott slowly turned his head toward Deucalion, his burning red eyes locking onto him. Now what should we do with you, demon wolf? Scott looked down at Deucalion, who was lying on the ground, and after a moment of thought, he turned to Derek and Cora. He's yours to deal with, Scott said. Derek glanced at Cora and stated, Leave him to me. Cora frowned. But I want to beat him up too. Derek shook his head. You already killed Callie. Let me handle him. Cora sighed but relented. Fine. Nearby, Noah observed the scene, his expression unreadable. He briefly considered taking Deucalion into custody, but quickly dismissed the idea. Instead, he exhaled and said, "All right, kids, I'm heading back to work." Without another word, he turned and walked out of the bank. Derek stepped forward, looming over Deucalion. "Are you going to lay there all night, demon wolf?" Deucalion sat up, his glowing red eyes locking onto Scott. He ignored Derek and said, "What are you? I've never seen or heard of a werewolf like you before." Scott's deep, rumbling voice carried through the air. "I told you already, I'm the Wolf King." Deucalion scoffed. "There's no such thing as a Wolf King." Scott shrugged. "And there's no such thing as a demon wolf either. Now, we don't have all night, so here's the deal. If you can defeat Derek, I'll let you walk away. But if you can't, you already know what happens." Deucalion stood up. "I know I wouldn't stand a chance against you. But Derek?" He smirked. "I can kill him in seconds. Are you sure you won't change your mind after I beat or even kill him?" Scott said, "You have my word." Deucalion nodded. His body tensed before he shifted into his werewolf form again. He turned to Derek and sneered. "All right, Derek. Show me if you're really your mother's son." Derek began shifting as well, black fur sprouting along his cheeks, his red alpha eyes burning in the dim light. He growled, "Bring it on." With a sudden blur of speed, Deucalion lunged, aiming for Derek's throat. But Derek dodged effortlessly, sidestepping the attack before delivering a powerful punch to Deucalion's face, sending him crashing into a nearby wall. Deucalion groaned as he stood, spitting out blood. His expression twisted in shock. "How? Why are you so strong after not seeing you only for a day?" Derek smirked. "I joined Scott's pack. And you know what happens when a lone wolf joins a strong pack. They become stronger too." Deucalion narrowed his eyes. "Even if you joined Scott's pack, you shouldn't have gained this much strength." Derek chuckled. "Didn't you just see how strong our alpha is? And by the way, all of us in his pack are alphas too. Do you have any idea how much strength one gains just from being in a pack like that?" Cora rolled her eyes. "Enough talking, Derek. Kill him already." Derek grinned. "You heard her. Let's end this quickly." Derek blurred forward, appearing in front of Deucalion in an instant. He aimed another punch at Deucalion's face, but at the last moment, Deucalion dodged, causing Derek's fist to smash into the wall behind him, shattering the concrete. Taking advantage of the moment, Derek delivered a devastating knee strike to Deucalion's gut. As Deucalion doubled over in pain, Derek grabbed his head and slammed his knee into his face, breaking his nose and knocking out several teeth. As Deucalion collapsed to the ground, Derek stepped back and sneered. "You wanted to see if I'm my mother's son? Then let me show you." Deucalion struggled to rise, his body trembling as he looked up, only to freeze in sheer disbelief. Derek had shifted fully into his wolf form, a massive wolf the size of a bull. Deucalion's voice wavered. How did you do it?" Derek didn't bother answering. With a feral snarl, he pounced, pinning Deucalion to the ground with his enormous paws. He lunged forward, sinking his powerful jaws into Deucalion's arm and violently shaking his head, ripping the limb clean off. Deucalion howled in agony. Derek didn't stop. He tore off Deucalion's other arm just as brutally, leaving him helpless on the ground. Just as Derek prepared to deliver the finishing bite to Deucalion's throat, Scott's deep voice rang out. "Derek, don't kill him yet." Derek halted immediately and backed away. Scott turned to Allison. "Go. Read his memories." Allison nodded and approached Deucalion, who was barely conscious. Without hesitation, she punched him hard, knocking him out, then inserted her claws into the back of his neck. A few moments later, she withdrew her hand and stood up. Styles grinned. "So? How much treasure did the demon wolf drop?" Allison smirked. 70 million, a building in town, and the apartment he's been living in." Styles whistled. "Nice. Do you know where he kept his money and the property deeds?" Allison nodded. "Yeah. The deeds are in his apartment, along with his bank account details and card. Scott said. We'll go get them tonight. Allison added. I also found out why Deucalion became the demon wolf. Lydia raised an eyebrow. Why? Allison sighed. He was ambushed by Gerard during a peace meeting. That psychopath Gerard killed 2 of Deucalion's pack members, and even the hunters just to frame him. He tried to kill Deucalion too, but only managed to blind him. Believe it or not, Deucalion was actually a good man before that incident. Scott shook his head. But he was also naive and stupid for trusting someone like Gerard. Allison nodded. True. Deaton and Talia Hale warned him not to trust Gerard, but he didn't listen. Scott exhaled. Either way, it's over now. Derek, absorb his power and finish him. Derek shifted into his werewolf form, now standing at 2.4 meters. Black fur covered his entire body. He stepped toward Deucalion, and plunged his claws into Deucalion's chest, and absorbed his power. After that, Derek ended the demon wolf's life. Scott stepped forward. He gazed at Deucalion's lifeless body before summoning flames and burning the remains to ashes. Turning to his pack, he said, All right, guys. Let's get out of here. Scott and his pack returned to their cars. Once Scott grabbed a change of clothes and dressed, he said, Allison, Styles, come with me to Deucalion's place. The 3 of them drove to Deucalion's apartment. Upon arriving, Allison quickly found the property deeds and bank account documents. With their objective complete, they left. Styles headed home, while Scott dropped Allison off at her house before driving to the animal clinic. When he entered the clinic, he was met with an unexpected sight. Melissa and Deaton kissing. At first, Scott froze in shock. Then he cleared his throat loudly. Melissa and Deaton immediately jumped apart, looking at him in complete embarrassment. Scott raised an eyebrow. What is this? Melissa stammered. Scott, I can explain. Scott cut her off. No. I'll talk to you later. Then he turned to Deaton. What is going on, Deaton? I've treated you like a friend and a mentor, but you want to be my father. Deaton sighed. We wanted to tell you, Scott. We just didn't know how. Scott folded his arms. How long have you 2 been together? And please tell me this is an actual relationship. Melissa quickly nodded. Yes, it is. We started dating when you were in Europe. Scott exhaled. I see. Well, Mom, are you happy? Melissa smiled. Yes. Scott then turned his gaze back to Deaton, his expression serious. Doc, I'm going to be honest with you. My father broke my mom's heart once before. Since then, she's worked double shifts, sacrificed everything, and did everything in her power to raise me right. She's the most important person in my life, and I don't want to see her heartbroken again or sad. Deaton nodded. Scott, I would never. Scott interrupted him. Let me finish. I know she's lonely, and I'm happy she found someone she likes. And I'm glad it's you, document. But if you ever hurt her in any way. Scott took a step closer, his red eyes glowing. You'll have to deal with the beast inside me. And trust me, that won't end well. Deaton chuckled softly, unfazed. Don't worry, Scott. I would never hurt her. Scott nodded. Good. Then, his expression shifted into something more mischievous. Now, when are you going to marry her? Because there will be no sleeping together before marriage. And no more kissing either. Melissa's eyes widened. Scott. Scott looked at her innocently. What? Melissa sighed in exasperation. You're going to scare him away. Scott smirked. Well, if the idea of marriage scares him, then it's better to end things now before someone gets hurt. Deaton, rather than looking scared, just smiled. Don't worry, Melissa. I'm not scared. Melissa's expression softened. She turned back to Scott with an amused glare. Let us handle our own relationship, Scott. We're both adults. We know better than you. Scott sighed. All right. But if you're going to be with my mom, Doc, then you have to be part of my pack. Deaton said. I could be your emissary. Scott shook his head. No, that's not what I meant. I'm going to give you the bite and make you stronger. Right now you're weak, and that makes you a weakness, to my mom and to me. And I hate weaknesses. Melissa gasped. Scott, you can't. Deaton raised a hand, stopping her. Wait, Melissa. I'll do it. Melissa looked at him in shock. Really? Deaton took her hand gently. Yes. I'll do it for you. They were about to kiss again when a low, menacing growl filled the room. They turned to see Scott glaring at them, his red eyes glowing ominously. His voice was a deep rumble. Just because I'm okay with you two being together doesn't mean I want to see all this lovey-dovey nonsense. Melissa blushed, pulling her hand away. Deaton coughed awkwardly. Scott stepped forward. Give me your arm. I'm going to give you the bite. What you turn into, well, that depends on your luck. Deaton extended his arm, and Scott bit him. Once it was done, Scott handed him Deucalion's bank account documents and property deeds. Give these to your siren friend. Tell her to make them mine. Deaton looked over the documents, eyes narrowing. Where did you get these? Scott smirked. Deucalion. He's dead. Deaton sighed. A shame. He used to be a good man. But don't worry, I'll handle this. Just be ready to take care of the clinic while I'm away. Scott nodded. I will. Then, he turned to Melissa. Let's go home, Mom. Melissa shook her head. No. I'm staying with Alan tonight. You just gave him the bite. I want to make sure he's okay. Scott frowned. Don't worry, he'll be fine. Or, I could stay instead. Melissa glared at him. Scott, go home. Scott sighed dramatically, turning to leave. As he stepped outside, he muttered under his breath, Damn it. Is this how I make Chris feel? This doesn't feel good at all. Maybe I should stop by Allison's house and piss off Chris just so I can sleep peacefully tonight. The next morning, Scott was having breakfast with Isaac. They were the only ones at home. Isaac took a bite of his food and asked, Where did Melissa go? Scott replied, She's with Deaton. They're dating, and I gave him the bite, so she stayed with him to make sure he's okay. Isaac raised an eyebrow. Are you okay with that? I mean, her dating. Scott sighed. Well, I'm not exactly happy about it, but she's been lonely since she divorced my dad. And Deaton is a good man. If she wants to be with him, it's not my place to stop her. I just hope they'll be happy together. Isaac smirked. Are you sure about that? 'Cause your eyes are glowing, man. Scott blinked, his red eyes fading back to normal. It'll take some time to get used to, but I'll manage. He then changed the subject. Anyway, how are you doing? How are things with Erica? Isaac grinned. Great. I'm really happy. Scott nodded. Glad to hear it. Have you talked to your useless father? Isaac snorted. Yeah, he finally called a month ago. Said he's fine and seeing a shrink because of that monster he saw before leaving. Then he just hung up. Scott frowned. Did he at least ask if you were okay? Isaac shook his head. Nope. But he did send me $500. Scott sighed. Well, at least he's trying. But hey, me and my mom will always be your family. You're stuck with us, and the pack too. Isaac smiled. Thanks, man. That means a lot. Scott grinned and stood up. All right, let's get to school. Scott and Isaac arrived at school, meeting up with the rest of the pack. After going through their morning classes, they all gathered in the cafeteria for lunch. Lydia smirked. So Scott, we heard you gave Deaton the bike yesterday. Erica added with a grin. And that's not all we heard. Apparently, Melissa and Deaton are dating. Scott's eyes narrowed as he turned to Isaac, who immediately raised his hands. Hey, it wasn't me, man. I didn't say anything. Allison coughed. Melissa told us. Lydia nodded. Yeah, we've known for a while now that she was dating Deaton. Allison's eyes widened. Lydia. Lydia chuckled. Oops. Scott turned to Allison, shocked. You knew for a while and didn't think to tell me? Allison winced. I'm sorry. Melissa made me promise not to say anything. She was afraid you'd get angry. Lydia smirked. And from what we heard, she wasn't wrong. Stiles laughed. Dude, did you try to beat up Deaton or something? Come on, Melissa's a grown woman. You can't keep her single forever. And who knows? Maybe you'll have a little brother or sister soon. Scott shot him a look. You're enjoying this way too much. I think I should help you train after school. Stiles' smile immediately disappeared. No, no, no. I'm not training with you. Scott smirked. Come on, I'll teach you how to control fire. Stiles frowned. But I don't even have the ability to control fire. Scott's smile widened. I know. I'm just helping you prepare for when you do get the ability. And don't worry, I promise I won't burn you to ash. Stiles' eyes widened. What do you mean? What are you planning to do to me? And I wasn't the only one who laughed. Lydia was laughing too. Lydia leaned back with a smirk. Hey Scott, maybe I should help you train Stiles too. My sonic attacks could use some extra practice. Stiles immediately stood up. Yeah, no. I'm suddenly very busy these days. Sorry guys, can't train with you. See you later. Scott and the rest of the pack laughed as they watched Stiles run away, only to bump into another student carrying a tray of food. The unfortunate student stumbled, spilling his lunch all over himself, while Stiles muttered a quick apology before leaving the cafeteria. After school, Scott and Allison drove to the animal clinic. When they arrived, they found Deaton and Melissa treating a dog with a broken leg. Scott walked up to Melissa, gave her a kiss on the cheek, then turned to Deaton. How are you feeling, Doc? Deaton smiled. I feel great. Allison looked at him curiously. So what exactly did you turn into? Deaton exhaled. Well, I'm not a shapeshifter. I have super strength and speed, but I don't have claws, and my senses aren't as sharp as yours. However, Scott raised an eyebrow. However what? Deaton gestured toward the injured dog. He placed his hand near its broken leg, and a green glow emanated from his palm. Within moments, the dog's leg healed completely, and it stood up, wagging its tail as if nothing had happened. I have a healing ability like yours. Deaton explained. But unlike you, I can heal others as well. I can also make plants grow faster and even control them to attack people. On top of that, I can use telekinesis. Scott's eyes widened. So, you turned into a mage? Deaton chuckled. I guess so. Allison asked. Do you still need to borrow power from nature to use magic? Let's just call it magic. Deaton shook his head. No, my powers now come from within me. I can use them until I'm exhausted, then I need to recover before I can use them again. Scott asked. How long can you use them before getting exhausted? Deaton shrugged. I don't know. I've been using them since this morning and haven't reached my limit yet. But that doesn't mean I have unlimited energy. If I were to fight one of you, I'd have to rely on stronger attacks, like making trees attack you or using telekinesis offensively, and that would drain me much faster. Still, I think I could fight for an hour or two like that. Healing, on the other hand, takes a lot of energy. Scott nodded. I see. But what about absorbing someone's powers? Since you don't have claws like us, how would you do it? Deaton frowned. I'm not sure. Maybe I can absorb powers through my hands or something similar. Scott sighed. Too bad. You could have absorbed Deucalion's powers yesterday and become an alpha, or whatever the equivalent of an alpha is for a mage. Melissa smirked. Too bad indeed. Scott grinned and clapped Deaton on the shoulder. Well, welcome to the pack, document. Deaton nodded. Thank you. By the way, I'm leaving Beacon Hills tomorrow to take care of what you asked me to do yesterday. Melissa suddenly spoke up. Scott, I'm going with Alan. Scott's expression darkened. No, you're not. Melissa glared at him. Scott. Scott groaned, running a hand through his hair. Damn it, this is not good for my health. Allison, let's go home. Scott turned and walked out of the clinic. Allison smiled at Melissa and Deaton. Don't worry about him. He'll get used to it. Bye, guys. She then followed after him. Deaton turned to Melissa. Maybe you shouldn't come with me. Him accepting us dating is already a big step. We shouldn't push him too far. Melissa snorted. Don't worry about that idiot. I know him better than anyone. He's not angry. He's just overprotective. While driving home, Allison glanced at Scott. Now my dad is the only one who isn't supernatural. Scott sighed. I offered him the bite, but he refused. You and Victoria need to convince him before something bad happens. You know what kind of people our enemies are. They wouldn't hesitate to use him against us. Allison exhaled. I know. Mom and I have tried to talk some sense into him, but he's stubborn. All she can do now is stick by his side and protect him, and he's not happy about that at all. Scott said. Let's just hope everything works out in the end. Styles' POV. It had been a week since Deaton joined the pack, and now Scott and his pack were leaving school when Styles received a telepathic message from his father. Styles, meet me in my office after school. After saying goodbye to Scott and the rest of the pack, Styles hopped into his Jeep and drove straight to the sheriff's station. The station was quiet, save for the hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional shuffle of paperwork. Sheriff Stalinsky sat at his desk, a mountain of case files stacked in front of him. His brow was furrowed, and his coffee sat untouched, long since gone cold. The door swung open as Styles strolled in, a bag of curly fries in hand. Hey, Dad. What's up? Noah didn't look up. Sit down, Styles. I need your input on something. Styles plopped into the chair across from him. What are we dealing with? Another mysterious animal attack? Oh wait, let me guess. Someone saw Bigfoot. Noah sighed, sliding a folder toward him. 5 cases in the past week, a bank robbery, a jewelry store heist, and 3 murders. All different suspects, but here's the kicker. The descriptions and video footage match people who couldn't possibly have committed these crimes. Styles flipped through the pages, his brows furrowing. Okay, so, the bank robber looked like Mr. Harris, our chemistry teacher. The jewelry thief was a retired firefighter. And the first murderer looked exactly like the victim's best friend. And the other 2 killers were both nurses. He glanced up. Why do you think these people couldn't have done it? Noah leaned back in his chair. Because fingerprints, DNA, alibis, none of it matches. It's like these people have perfect doubles running around committing crimes. Styles froze mid-chew, his eyes widening. Doubles, you say? Noah nodded. That's the only explanation. Styles sat up straight. Then we're dealing with a shapeshifter. Noah exhaled. That's what I was afraid of. Do you know what it is? Styles frowned, thinking. I can't say for sure, but it sounds like a mimic. Noah's eyes narrowed. What's a mimic? Styles tapped the table, recalling what he had read in Scott's supernatural books. Mimics are shape-shifting entities that can perfectly copy someone's appearance. The strong ones can even mimic other shapeshifters like werewolves. Noah stiffened. So, if one of them mimics Scott in his werewolf form, would it have the same strength as him? Styles smirked. They wish. From what I read, the strongest mimics can copy the form of a supernatural creature, but not its power. So if one of them turns into Scott's werewolf form, it might look like him, but it won't have his strength. Noah relaxed slightly. So they're not very dangerous. Styles shook his head. Physically, no. But their real danger isn't strength. It's how hard they are to find. They can turn into anyone. Noah groaned, rubbing his temples. Well, we need to find this thing before it causes more damage. Stiles leaned forward. Did you catch any unusual scents at the crime scenes? Noah shook his head. No. Just then, a knock on the door interrupted them. Come in. Noah called. A deputy stepped inside. Sheriff, we got a tip. The suspect, who looks like one of the nurses, was spotted at a motel on the outskirts of town. Noah said, The real nurses, they are still in custody, right? The deputy nodded. Yes, sir. Noah sighed. All right. Release them. I'll go handle this myself. The deputy nodded and left. Noah turned to Stiles. Let's go. Stiles and Noah pulled into the parking lot of a rundown motel. They checked the room number against the tip they received and moved cautiously toward the door. As they got closer, Stiles said, I can feel it. She's definitely supernatural. Noah's eyes darkened. Yeah, I feel it too. Stiles glanced at him. So, what's the plan? You do realize you can't just arrest a mimic, right? They can change faces in a heartbeat. No matter how much evidence you have, they can just slip away. Noah exhaled. We have DNA evidence. Stiles raised an eyebrow. And what if they can change their DNA too? Noah sighed. Let's catch the mimic first. We'll figure out how to handle it later. He and Stiles approached the motel room and knocked. After a moment, the door opened, revealing a woman in her 30s. It wasn't the nurse, but both Stiles and Noah could feel it. She was supernatural. Noah's expression hardened. You're under arrest. The woman didn't resist as he cuffed her, a smirk tugging at her lips. You're making a mistake, she said, voice dripping with amusement. We'll see about that. Noah replied. Then he stepped inside, searching for any stolen money or jewelry, but the room was clean, too clean. Back at the station, they identified the mimic as Mara Voss after verifying her ID, confirming that it was genuine. Proving her guilt, however, was another matter. Fingerprints and DNA evidence didn't link her to the crimes, and within the hour, her lawyer arrived. My client has been falsely accused, he said smoothly. There's no evidence linking her to these crimes. Mara flashed Noah a smug smile. Told you, you're making a mistake. Noah sighed, rubbing his temples before finally giving in. Let her go. As she walked out of the interrogation room, she spotted Stiles waiting for her. With a playful wink, she said, Goodbye, handsome. Stiles smirked. Goodbye. And be careful out there. There are wolves in Beacon Hills, big ones with glowing red eyes. Mara's smirk faltered. She stopped in her tracks, eyes narrowing. What do you mean, kid? Stiles shrugged. Nothing. Turning to his dad, he said, I'm heading to the ranch. As he walked away, he sent a telepathic message to Noah. Don't worry about her, Dad. I'll take care of it. Noah tensed. Stiles, what are you planning? What's necessary? We can't let her keep hurting and killing people. Noah let out a sigh but didn't argue. Mara's POV. Mara stepped outside the station, watching as Stiles climbed into his jeep and drove off. Something about the kid unnerved her. She turned to her lawyer. Take me to the storage facility. As they drove, the lawyer glanced at her. You look tense. If this is about that stupid kid and his wolves comment, don't worry. There haven't been wolves in California for over 60 years. Mara scoffed. You have no idea what he was actually talking about. The lawyer frowned. Then what was he talking about? Nothing. She muttered. Just drive. At the storage facility, she went to her storage unit, grabbed a backpack stuffed with cash and jewelry before hopping onto her motorcycle and speeding toward the outskirts of town. Her plan was simple: get out of Beacon Hills as soon as possible. But as she rode down the road near the Beacon Hills Preserve, something in the forest caught her eye. A massive brown wolf, easily the size of a bull, was running alongside her. Her heart pounded. What is that? She twisted the throttle, pushing the bike to its limits, but the wolf was faster. In a blur of movement, it leaped and slashed her tires with its claws. Mara lost control, crashing violently into the woods. Dazed, she groaned, pulling off her helmet, only to freeze. The enormous red-eyed wolf stood before her, towering, powerful, and terrifying. What are you? She whispered. The wolf spoke. I told you, there are wolves in Beacon Hills. Mara's eyes widened. You're the kid from the station. The wolf grinned, an eerie, human-like smirk. Mara's mind raced. She had encountered supernatural creatures before, but never like this. Why are you attacking me? The wolf growled, stepping closer. Because this is my pack's territory, and we don't take kindly to supernatural creatures killing innocent people. Mara scoffed. I didn't kill anyone. You've got the wrong person. The wolf's glowing eyes burned into hers. Bitch, please. I can tell when someone's lying. And I know exactly what you are, Mimic. Her expression darkened. Then you can die. In a flash, she pulled a gun and fired. Bang, bang, bang. The bullets hit their mark, square in the wolf's chest. For a moment, she felt relief. Got you. But then she noticed. The wolf wasn't bleeding. It wasn't even flinching. The bullets had bounced off. Her blood ran cold. No way. Before she could react, the wolf lunged. A massive paw struck her, sending her flying. She crashed into a tree with bone-rattling force, the impact knocking the air from her lungs. Pain erupted through her body, and darkness crept at the edges of her vision. She tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. Styles shifted back to his human form and walked toward her, his red eyes glowing in the darkness. Styles crouched beside her, his claws elongating. With a swift, precise motion, he plunged his claws into the back of her neck. Mara gasped, her body convulsing as her strength drained away. A wave of memories flooded Styles' mind. After confirming that she was the real killer and that she was alone, he exhaled deeply before gripping her head and swiftly snapping her neck. As her lifeless body collapsed, he muttered under his breath. Taking a life doesn't feel good, but Scott makes it look easy. Turning his attention to her backpack, he unzipped it and found stacks of stolen cash and jewelry. He sent his father a telepathic message. Dad, come pick up the stolen goods. A short while later, Noah arrived. Taking the bag, he looked down at Mara's corpse before shifting his gaze to Styles. Are you okay? Noah asked, concern evident in his voice. Styles hesitated before replying. Taking a life for the first time. It doesn't feel good. But it had to be done. Noah sighed, nodding in understanding. All right. So what are we going to do with the body? I'll take it to the ranch and ask Scott to burn it. Styles answered. Noah nodded. All right. Without another word, he turned and headed back to the sheriff's station, while Styles carried Mara's body back to his jeep, and he drove straight to the ranch. When Styles arrived, he decided to test his new ability. His features shifted, his body morphed, and within moments, he looked exactly like Scott. Smirking, he walked into the living room, where Allison, Lydia, Erica, Malia, and Cora were sitting together, chatting. He strolled up to Allison with a confident grin. Hey, babe. Allison barely spared him a glance before rolling her eyes. Styles, I don't know how you look exactly like Scott, but you do realize we're werewolves, right? I can tell by your scent that you're not Scott. Plus, thanks to our pack bond, I don't even have to look at you to know who you are. Lydia smirked. And even without all of that, we could tell it was you the moment you walked in with that creepy smile on your face. Styles groaned. You girls are no fun. Before he could say anything else, Malia stood up, grabbed him by the ear, and tugged hard. Why do you look like Scott? Turn back into my Styles. And why did you just call Allison babe? Wincing, Styles quickly shifted back to his normal self. I was just joking, Malia. Please have mercy, you're gonna rip my ear off. Malia snorted, but let go of him. Styles wasted no time pulling her into a quick hug. "I was just trying to prank Allison, okay? I love you." Malia huffed but let it slide, especially when he kissed her. Lydia leaned forward, intrigued. "So, what's with the new ability, Styles?" He grinned. "Let's go see Scott and the others. I'll explain everything." The group made their way to the backyard, where Scott and the rest of the pack were gathered around a bonfire. Once everyone was settled, Styles began recounting the events of the night, from capturing the mimic to absorbing her abilities. Jennifer's POV. Jennifer stood before two large vans parked deep within the Beacon Hills Preserve. Inside each van lay 18 unconscious people. She and her fellow Duracs, Sloane, Vivian, and Yumai, had spent weeks carefully selecting their victims, gathering them from outside Beacon Hills. Drifters, outcasts, those who wouldn't be missed. Each one chosen with purpose. Jennifer's gaze swept over the scene with satisfaction. The 36 lives they had gathered would fuel the Nemeton, restoring its power beyond anything seen before. But before the ritual could begin, they needed Deucalion. His blood was essential. Until they found him, the sacrifices had to wait. Because the moment they started killing, Scott and his pack would probably come. And Jennifer was sure they couldn't stop them. They had scoured Beacon Hills, searching every possible hideout, but the demon wolf was nowhere to be found. He had vanished. Instead, they had found the next best thing: the twins. Ethan and Aiden had fought fiercely, but they were no match for Jennifer and her Durac allies. Now bound and weakened by wolfsbane, they knelt before her, their strength fading. Aiden had taken the worst of it. His body convulsed as the poison coursed through his veins, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Ethan, despite his pain, lifted his head and glared at Jennifer with burning defiance. Jennifer asked, "Where is Callie and Deucalion? Tell me or I will kill your brother." Ethan hesitated for a brief moment before he answered, "They are dead." Jennifer's expression darkened. "Let's not talk about Callie, but who could kill the demon wolf?" He challenged Scott. He admitted, and we haven't seen him since. Silence hung heavy in the air. Jennifer's hands clenched into fists as rage boiled inside her. Scott. Of course, it had to be him. She unsheathed a dagger. The blade gleamed under the moonlight as she pressed it against Ethan's chest. "I wanted to spill their blood myself," she murmured, her voice low and deadly. "But I suppose yours will have to do." Without hesitation, she plunged the dagger deep into Ethan's heart. A strangled gasp escaped his lips as his body jerked violently. His eyes widened in shock before the light in them faded. "Ethan." Aiden choked out, struggling against his restraints. His body trembled, not just from the wolfsbane but from the sheer agony of watching his brother die. Jennifer wiped the blood off her fingers, her expression void of sympathy. "Aiden's already as good as dead," she said coldly, turning away. "Let him feel the pain of losing his brother before he dies slowly." Sloane watched Aiden with a smile before speaking. "But if Deucalion's dead, whose blood do we use for the ritual?" Jennifer said, "We need an alpha's blood, and Scott's is out of the question. But I know another alpha. Her name is Satomi. Let's use her blood." Vivian smirked. "That sounds like a plan." With that, they vanished into the night, leaving Aiden bleeding and broken beside his brother's lifeless body. Summoning the last of his strength, Aiden fumbled for his phone with trembling fingers. He barely managed to press a number before the world around him blurred. When Morel arrived, she found him collapsed in the dirt, his breaths shallow. Scott's POV. The next day, as Scott and his pack prepared to leave French class, Morel intercepted them, her usual composed expression clouded with something close to urgency. "You need to hear this," she said in a low voice. "Jennifer is back. And she's not alone. She has 3 other Duracs with her." Scott's eyes narrowed. "How do you know?" Morel's expression darkened. "She attacked the twins last night. Ethan is dead. I found Aiden barely alive. She poisoned him and left him to die. I managed to save him." Styles asked, "Why would she go after the twins?" Aiden said she was looking for Callie and Deucalion. Morel folded her arms. And I know why. Lydia's patience was wearing thin. Then tell us already. We don't have all day. Morel said. Jennifer's real name is Julia Bakari. She was once a druid and Callie's emissary. Years ago, Deucalion ordered Callie to kill her entire pack, including Julia. Callie attacked her, left her for dead, but she survived. Styles frowned. And now she has become a Dirac to seek revenge. Yes. Morel nodded. By the way, Aiden wants to meet with you. Scott said. Tell him to meet us at the animal clinic after school. Scott and his pack gathered inside the clinic waiting. Not long after, Aiden arrived. His face was pale, his expression grim. Scott didn't waste time. What do you want? Aiden's fists clenched at his sides. Before she left, I heard Julia say something about using the blood of an alpha for a ritual. They wanted Deucalion's, but since he's gone, they're after Satomi. Scott asked, Why are you telling me this? Aiden's jaw tightened. Because I want to fight her with you guys. I want to kill Julia. His voice cracked, raw with emotion. I want to avenge Ethan. Please let me go with you. Scott studied him carefully. After a moment, he gave a nod. All right. But first, we need to find them. His gaze shifted to Lydia. Lydia, where can we find the Diracs? Lydia exhaled, frustrated. I don't know, but we should be looking for the Nemeton. Like right now. Scott turned to the pack. You heard her. Let's go. After closing the clinic, they set off into the Beacon Hills Preserve. They searched for nearly an hour, weaving through the dense forest, when Styles suddenly stopped in his tracks. Guys, maybe we're doing this wrong. Scott turned to him. What do you mean? Styles gestured around. You said the Nemeton is a beacon for the supernatural, right? Maybe we shouldn't be looking for it. Maybe we need to feel it. Scott nodded. Good point. Let's try that. Closing their eyes, Scott and his pack focused, letting their supernatural senses guide them. A tense silence fell over the group. Then, almost simultaneously, their eyes snapped open. They all turned in the same direction. Lydia's expression darkened. That's it. That's where we need to go. Her voice dropped lower. Because besides the Nemeton, I can feel death. Scott said, Let's move. Without hesitation, they sprinted toward their destination. When they arrived, a chilling sight awaited them. Jennifer and Nyumai stood atop the massive tree, slaughtering captives one by one. Blood pooled at the roots, seeping into the earth. Nearby, Sloane and Vivian carefully painted Celtic symbols on the ground using Satomi's blood. Satomi herself was bound to a tree, her body weak, but she was still alive. Jennifer turned, her eyes widening in shock when she saw Scott and his pack. Shit. She hissed. Her expression twisted with urgency. Forget the sacrifices. Start the summoning. She and Nyumai rushed toward Sloane and Vivian, hastily throwing mountain ash around themselves, sealing them inside a protective barrier. Allison asked, Should we stop them? Scott shook his head. No. Not yet. Let's see what they're summoning. Scott and his pack watched as the Celtic symbols began to glow, pulsating with dark energy. The air around them vibrated, thick with power. A low guttural sound rumbled from the portal forming inside the circle. Something was coming through. Something powerful.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.